already starting. You can't walk all the way in and I can't go into the boundary line. Yeah, game is started. So does it if we can get that camera to work, we can use that next game.
Big man, you know the ballers? Alright.
One of the mic isn't what? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Katy Hockely grounds. We have the fourth game of the Houston Premier League going on right now, and it's the UMMC Knight Riders versus the Powerstars. Now, keep in mind, both those teams have happy captains because they both ended on a win yesterday. They've both lost one and won a match, so this match is definitely important for both the teams to keep in mind that they need to qualify for the playoffs. Now, I also want to welcome Brian Walters, who's going to be in the commentary box for the rest of the day. Good morning, Brian.
Oh, good morning, Roshni. Such a lovely day, a little bit drier than it was yesterday morning, and I think we're looking at two pretty high-powered teams here. The UMMC Knight Riders, of course, played yesterday, and they chose to bat in their first game, and I think it's fair to say that they did not get the result that they were looking for, both in terms of how many runs they scored and in terms of the final result. But they are a powerfully stacked batting side. The two men at the wicket, William Perkins and Jaskaran Malhotra, I think their prowess speaks for itself. And so from this point, even though this is a very miserly first over being bowled, in fact, by my records, that was actually a maiden, but these two can accelerate tremendously at any point, and both of them are very well known for heavy scoring. So we would be looking at this point, I think, for a very exciting start to the day's play.
Absolutely. I mean, we know how dangerous both of them can be. Obviously, yesterday in both the games, we didn't see both of them fire together. In their second match, Jessica did score past a 50. So I think both of them will be looking to build a good partnership. I know the captain, Majid, had mentioned that he really told the senior players that they need to step up. They need to, make sure they know the importance of their wicket and they don't give it away compared to what they did yesterday. So I think it's a good start for them. I think they have a good mindset, and I think they definitely had a team meeting to discuss what went wrong yesterday. So we should see a fresh start for them.
Completely. So, in the grand scheme of things, a maiden being conceded in the first over doesn't necessarily mean a lot because these two can accelerate to whatever extent they want to. So if they stay at the wicket, even if they take, 8 or 9 balls to get settled down, once they start going for it, I think you'll be able to see a very explosive result. And of course, here at the Katy Hockely ground, we're playing on an artificial wicket. So there are not necessarily any tricks to how the ball is going to be coming. You're probably not going to get much sideways movement. So all in all, I think good conditions for batting, and I think that will be reflected in the score that we see here. So 7 deliveries bowled so far in this inning. 7 on the trot are dot balls. Can't say that you see that happen very often in this format of the game, but these two taking a little bit of time to get settled. Jaskaran Malhotra is the man on strike, and now he goes over the top just as we expected. Eventually, they were going to start opening up. This ball is driven in the air comfortably over the covers, and that's the first boundary of the day. 4 without loss. The first scoring shot of the day is a brilliantly struck 4 by Jaskaran Malhotra. Awaiting details on the identities of each of the players. If I'm not mistaken, the bowler from the southern end is Ali Bangesh. We'll get that confirmed shortly. But good build in terms of what you expect a fast bowler to look like. Right arm over the wicket. He's now coming in again to Malhotra. Short, and this ball is plundered. That's going to be 6. Huge 6. 1 bounce, and it goes into the 10th area, probably 20 or so yards beyond the boundary. So we're off and running here, Roshni.
Yes, I mean, it's always good to see Jaskaran get going. It's always good to have that space, and I think, this is their chance, especially to build up that innings. And both of these players, are known to play those big shots, and clearly today they're definitely going after the shots they know they're going to clear the boundaries with.
Oh, Edgerton taking the first slip. That is a beautiful catch. What a comeback delivery. Full, inviting him to play on that 4th stump line. Jaskaran sort of tentatively poked at that ball, kissed the outside edge, and a brilliant catch taken down low in the slips. So the first wicket falls after a little bit of excitement. And Jaskaran walking off. He will not be happy with that because I suspect that if he'd committed to a more aggressive shot, he could have gotten away with it here in the power play. And unfortunately for him, ball only manages to kiss the outside edge and goes through to first slip. The first wicket falls. We are 10 for 1. So 10 for 1 is the score. Jaskaran Malhotra is the batsman dismissed. 2 scoring strokes. 1, a sweetly timed 4 over the top of the offside. And the second, a brutal 6 over, let's call it wide straightish mid-wicket or wide long on. But then the very next delivery, excellent comeback ball. Jaskaran did not necessarily have a good answer for it. The false shot induced an outside edge and snapped up at that first slip position by the fielder there. So the first wicket falls. The incoming batsman is the experienced Janisar Khan. Janisar, of course, has played tremendous cricket, first of all, in Pakistan in their domestic setup, and then for years here in the Houston area. And he's also, of course, represented the United States of America on several occasions. So very experienced cricketer, able to consolidate if need be, also able to accelerate if he needs to. So, Roshni, 1 wicket has fallen. Conditions are still fantastic for batting. What do you expect for this next passage of play?
I mean, I think in terms of the Knights, compared to what they were, they showed yesterday, and I think when they had the team meeting, clearly they do need to make sure that they aren't giving away their wickets, in terms of the shot selections that they are playing. So I think it's really up to Perkins now, to obviously play those shots that they need to, but I think they definitely need to make sure that they get a good total on the board because both the games they played yesterday were pretty low scoring. The second one, they just won by a couple of runs, so it was a pretty close game. So they definitely need to get the batting lineup done. I know at the toss, Majid mentioned, with the runs that has been a bit of a weakness that they have. They definitely have the bowling side, but I think they definitely need to put on and add more runs compared to they did yesterday. I mean, in the morning, only getting in 140 runs. In the second game, also around 150. That just shows that they were definitely runs short. So they need to make sure that they have enough runs on the board because the Powerstars also have a mighty side to them, so they have to also keep that in mind. And I think it's really important for these guys to stick through to the whole 6 overs in the beginning, and that's when they can maybe take some chances.
I agree with you. End of the over, by the way, the last delivery just punched to mid-on for a quick single, and so Janisar Khan is off the mark. But I think you're exactly right. They both have very strong batting lineups. To be honest, the Knight Riders have not clicked to the extent that they expect to be able to. And when you have a situation where the top of the lineup, that's supposed to be the table setting portion of the lineup, and if they're not scoring the runs that they need to, or if they're not occupying the crease as long as they need to, then the power hitters at the back end of the lineup are being forced into a situation where they're not necessarily comfortable. Majid Rizvi, Jawad Khalid, and those guys would love to come in with 8, 9 overs to go and be blasting the ball out of the park. If they're asked to come in with 15, 16 overs to go, then it changes their role a little bit, and I think it upsets the balance of the team because you have those folks who are in a situation or in the batting scenario where they're not necessarily comfortable. This ball is driven off of the back foot through the covers. They'll get a couple of runs. Janissar, a more conventional cricket stroke, driving it through the covers, through extra cover. And they get 2 runs for that. So 13 for 1 is the score. Wicket keeper is, if I'm not mistaken, Prashant Mani, the captain. And the bowling will be receiving information on the specific players very shortly. Janissar, of course, on that occasion, dropping the ball down into the gully area. No run taken. Okay, here we go. So the bowler from the north end is Sankrit Batula. From the south end is Ali Bangesh. Batula, short ball, not timed very well. Sort of a top edge that runs down to a short fine leg, but they do get a couple of runs. So 2 more runs to the total. Janissar scoring at a relatively decent pace since he's come into to the crease. He's up now to 5 runs, faced 3 deliveries and scored 5. Actually, 4 deliveries and scored 5. William Perkins on the other end has not yet opened his accounts. Batula again. He pulls out of his run-up. Batula, right arm over the wickets. Coming in now to bowl to Janissar Khan. Short, and he powers this ball wide up that fielder in mid-on, running away down close to the boundary. They'll get 2 runs. It's a good piece of work down there on the boundary, actually. He ran back from that mid-on position, did that fielder. Made probably 25 or 30 yards and pulled that ball right back in front of the boundary rope. So a couple more runs to the total. The score is now 17 for 1. If my unofficial score is accurate. Janissar now up to 7. Full, slap through the covers. That should be 4, I believe. Yep, gonna go all the way through to the boundary. Very full, very wide, inviting the aggressive stroke outside the off stump. And Janissar Khan is only too welcoming of that delivery. Releasing a little bit of the pressure here are the Powerstars after a good start to get rid of Jasker and Malhotra. They're now conceded about 10 runs, 10 runs so far this over. And the scoring has freed up a little bit. Again, pulling out of his run-up. That's the second time this over that he's done that. So 21 for 1. And Roshni, when a little bit of power, a little bit of pressure has been taken off of the batting side with a little bit of loose bowling, what effect does that have on the batting side?
I think it obviously has the batting side, puts them in a good space. I mean, you know how crucial it is to, not be giving away any wickets, especially in that power play. I mean, losing 1 wicket already puts them at a drawback, and I think their goal is to complete the power play without losing any more wickets. So I think for them, it really helps, getting in these shots, because even for batsmen, especially when they're playing dot balls or only getting in singles, it becomes a bit frustrating. It puts on pressure. So this really alleviates pressure, getting in a boundary or 2 in each over. They don't need to take any risks. which I think is good. There's no need for it right now. So I think it really helps. And for the Powerstars, I mean, they have a great bowling lineup as well. But their main thing is to definitely get in those early wickets, to really, have a easy go at them. They have a lot more bowlers to come as well. So for these opening bowlers, I think they would want to get one of these two out. I mean, that's going to put the Knights in a really tough position.
Completely agree with you. Now the bowling now coming from the south end again. I believe this is also Ali Bangesh to continue. His second over, the first over that he bowled went for 11 runs. So he'll be looking for a little bit of a tighter over here, but he did take the crucial wicket of Jaskar and Malhotra. So 22 for 1 the score. Ali Bangesh, 1 over, 1 wicket. You'll take an average of 11 if you're always able to get that. So he won't be concerned from that standpoint, but just think he'll be wanting to pull back the number of runs that are scored off of his over so far. Janisar Khan is, again, a very experienced cricketer. And one thing that you've noticed, he's taken a lot of ones and twos. He's only had one boundary so far. But he knows the importance of keeping the scoreboard ticking over. And so just dropping that ball, that last delivery right in front of himself. In fact, it might have rolled towards the covers a little bit, but certainly far enough for them to run that single. Now Perkins opens his account with a big 6 over square leg. Short of a length delivery bowled by Ali Bangesh, and Perkins in a flash onto the back foot and pulls that ball. There's a fielder down there in the deep. I believe that's John Ross Campbell. And absolutely no problem for Perkins to clear him easily. Campbell, a tall guy, he jumped, both hands extended, was not able to get anywhere close to it. So Perkins off the mark with an imperious 6. And this is a little bit more of what they were looking for from Perkins, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. And just to add a little bit on the bowler, I actually witnessed him play 2 years ago at the college cricket level. So he's a youngster. He plays in the Houston Cricket League very often. But it just adds to these two bowlers and the two batsmen and their experience as well. I think the experience really shows and plays. And I think that's one thing that, they really need to stand for, is that their experience is there to make sure that, they stick through with the batting.
It's interesting that this last delivery that went for 6, you would expect, since he was pulled over square leg, and I'll continue that thought shortly, as delivery full and driven outside off stump, missing actually. The ball goes through to the keeper. But if you were, as a bowler, if you were pulled for 6 over backward square leg, you would expect that the next delivery would be maybe a little fuller so you don't get pulled again. He did. The very next delivery was also another short ball, and Perkins went for a slash and missed it. But it speaks, I think, to the aggression that you'd expect from an opening seamer. No seamer at all likes getting hit, but it takes a special seamer to continue with a delivery in the way that he has, even after the previous delivery similar to that one was knocked away over square leg for 6. Very full appeal, loud appeal. Immediately a shake of the head by umpire Naveed Siddiqui.
Not out.
If I'm not mistaken, Roshni, I think I heard 2 sounds there. It might have come off of the inside edge onto the bat. So immediately started shaking his head, did umpire Siddiqui. So I suspect that might have been the reason why it was not out. In the end, it's another dot ball, and with 2 deliveries to go in the over, the score is 29 for 1. Down the leg side, appeal always given him. William Perkins does not look happy at all. Umpire Siddiqui is of the obvious opinion that it came off of the bat, and the keeper went up immediately. So did the slip fielders, and the umpire Siddiqui immediately signaled out. Perkins certainly not happy with that decision. I think indicating that the bat hitting the ground is what might have caused that sound. But it doesn't matter. If the umpire's opinion is that he's out, he unfortunately is going to have to go. He's walking off very dejectedly, looking back at his partner, Janisar Khan. But at the end of the day, it really just comes down to what is the umpire's opinion. And if the umpire thinks he's out, unfortunately, he's going to have to go. So 29 for 2, the score. William Perkins, 6 off of 10. And despite his disappointment, he's going to have to take the long walk back to the pavilion, Roshni.
Yeah, I think for the Knights, they're definitely at a tough position again. I think things just haven't been working when it comes to their batting in all the games so far. It's really coming down to that middle order to, build up a score, which always puts pressure on the players. I mean, this is just adding on the pressure, losing another wicket. So Ali has now taken out both the openers. I think for the Powerstars, they're definitely at a good space.
Exactly, 29 for 2. We believe that the new batsman is Farouk Tariq. We'll get that confirmed here shortly. But again, we've spoken about this, Roshni, where you'd expect for the openers to take it pretty deep into the innings and give some freedom and license to the power hitters at the back end of the lineup. But when the power hitters are more exposed earlier in the innings, it sort of upsets the momentum of the innings and puts them in the position where they would prefer to not be. Short ball powered away through mid-wicket. That's a great shot by Janisar Khan. 4 more runs to the total, 33 for 2, and Janisar himself moves on now to 17 from 10 balls faced. Well, Janisar is playing a different game from all the other batsmen.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, right, it's going to be up to him to now create a new partnership. I think, Powerstars have been doing really well. As soon as, any of the batsmen keeps going, they've been able to get rid of them. So I think Janisar needs to really stick in there and, watch his shot selection very well, because if they lose another wicket in the next couple of overs, it's going to be very, very difficult for the upcoming batsmen to really get into good innings.
Completely agree with you. And Sankrith Batula is the bowler continuing. He is now in his 3rd over from the north end. Ball outside off. Wide signaled on that occasion by umpire Rakesh Jain. Good take by the keeper Prashant Mani on that occasion, actually. Diving away to his right. Took that ball actually in front of first slip. Very athletic piece of keeping. The ball started out wide and swung away wider. And not only is the actual umpire signaling wide, but our virtual umpire on the screen is also signaling wide. A testament to the amount of production being put into these proceedings by the great Munir Majid, who is shaking his head in obvious disagreement, but I'm bigger, so I get the last opinion. Oh, dropped in front of sort of backward point there by Farouk Tariq. He gets off the mark. Not the most convincing of strokes. And in a different version of cricket where the close-in fielders were a little bit closer, he might have been in trouble. But here it just results in a single. So he's off the mark. 1 from the first delivery faced. And the score moves on to 36 for 2. Slower delivery, driven down the ground. They'll get 1. No, they'll get 4. Honestly, that was a bit of a gift. Janisar Khan has been scoring pretty freely, and this delivery was a full looping full toss at probably 50 miles an hour. absolutely presented no problems for Janissar, who just drove it straight down the ground. There's a fielder in the deep. In fact, that's not a fielder. The person who retrieved that ball is actually one of the bench players for the Powerstars. So no trouble with that shot. 4 more to the total. Here's Batula again. Looking to drive is Janissar Khan. Misses it, and it's wrapped on the pad. They're run through for what I believe is a leg by, but in fact the umpire Rakesh Jain, has not signaled anything, so he's giving that as runs. So another single to the total with 1 ball to go here in the 5th over. The score is 41 for 2. Batula, full. This ball is clipped to square leg. There's a fielder down in the deep. It comes off of the fence. And a good, strong throw back into Prashant Mane, the keeper. A single to end the over. 13 runs come from that over. Sankirth Batula in 3 overs has conceded 24 runs. So he'll want to have reduced a few of those runs. Good, sharp pace that he's bowling, but it's been a little bit expensive. And at the end of the 5th over, 1 over remaining in the power play, the score is 42 for 2. So 42 for 2, the score. 5 overs up. This is the last over of the power play coming up. And if my old eyes don't deceive me, that is Naveen Stewart who's taking the ball. And in fact, as we see on the screen, it really is Naveen Stewart who's taking the ball. Good, nippy pace bowler. Solid cricketer all around, of course. He's a great batsman, destructive on his day. Can bat properly. He's from the same island as William Perkins, the twin island nation of Trinidad and Tobago. He's here, very well known around the Houston area. Played in many, many tournaments here over the years. First delivery is outside off and chopped down into the slips. No run. Roshni, what can you tell us about Naveen that I don't already know?
I'm not sure what you wouldn't already know, but a fun fact that I found out yesterday was, HPL for Naveen is really important because it's something that actually brought him back to cricket. He was saying he was almost in this retirement phase, even though there was no need for him to be, especially when HPL started, but it really brought him back to cricket, and we can see Naveen as someone who is all over the place when it comes to cricket, even when it comes to the minor league he's involved. So in all these years, he's been in so many different tournaments, and I think he's, if not the top wicket taker, he's always in that top 5 for a tournament. So, for the Powerstars, having him is always a great addition. I think he's always, a key wicket taker when the team needs, any wicket. He's definitely someone who can come in and play that, and he has that experience as well. And he's someone who is very jolly in terms of, when it comes to helping out youngsters or anything like that. So it's great to see, Naveen back here at HPL, and he's mentioned HPL is one of his favorites.
It's interesting that you mention how he is with the younger players. Generally, just a really good-hearted person is the impression that we get from having spoken to him a lot over the years. When he's on the field, he's as competitive and as fierce a person as you'd expect, given somebody who's played the high level of cricket that he has. But off the field, really pleasant, a really jovial, and a really approachable person, not only just for people who want to do interviews and sign autographs, but for people who would like to lean on his knowledge of the game and be able to learn from him. Very, very good in that regard. Oh, thick outside edge. Oh, trouble. Two men are at the same end, and that is absolutely suicidal. A big drive essayed outside off stump, went into the gully. I suspect that Farouk Tariq believed that there was an easy run there, took off running, was committed to get to the other end, realized way too late that his partner, Janisar Khan, was not interested in taking that run. And it ended up with them both being on the same end, and all Naveen Stewart needed to do was retrieve that throw from the covers and flick that leg bail off. So, suicidal run out. Truly, truly demoralizing event there for the Knight Riders. Roshni, generally when you have two batsmen at the same end of the pitch, that's not a good thing.
It definitely isn't. I mean, I think that's, something that we see has been kind of difficult with the Knight Riders when it comes to, that communication between the players, because they've shown a bit of difficulty. I mean, now it's up to the captain walking in, Majid, to now try to do what he did yesterday as well. So it's more pressure being added. And obviously when it comes to, having someone go back into the dugout due to a run out, it also creates a bit of tension, in the dugout. So that's not always good for the team as well.
There are several different ways to get out in cricket. Probably the worst one is being run out, particularly if you felt like you were getting yourself comfortable with the surroundings and with the conditions and looking to launch. And, you're getting to the point where there's already been pressure on the top order. You know that this is an opportunity. We're getting deeper into the tournament to get to the point where you're stamping your authority on the tournament, and to have it all end because of miscommunication and a run out is a truly demoralizing thing to have happen. So 43 for 3 is the score. Naveen Stewart has one ball remaining in this over. Short ball, very short in fact, and pulled to mid-on for a single. And that ends the over. So Janisar Khan is playing a lone hand here. Janisar is on. We'll get his score here shortly. But he is the only batsman who's offering any resistance thus far. All of the others, Janisar Khan, 24 from 17 deliveries. And the overall team score is 44 for 3. As a reminder, this tournament is being brought to you by the fabulous folks at Pablos Restaurant and Club. I will tell you that I had a chicken wrap yesterday, and it's probably the best meal that I've eaten in several weeks, not counting Jamaican food, of course, because that's in a category by itself. But for those of you who have never been to Pablo's Restaurant and Club, I would completely recommend that you check it out. The first time I was there was 2 nights ago, and I have promised Pablo that every time I return to the Houston area, that will be my first stop. Pablo's Restaurant and Bar. So the end of the power play, the score 44 for 3. They would not, I think, Roshni, have been looking for 44 runs at the end of the power play. I would think they'd be looking for more, something along the lines of 60, 65 at that power play.
Yeah, with their batting lineup, especially when those openers come out, that is what you would expect. But as mentioned, I think their top order has had a bit of a struggle throughout the tournament so far. It's definitely something they really need to, as a team, figure out before the next game. But right now, just speaking of this game, I think the team really needs to figure out, well, how are we going to get to, a good enough total? I think they've already realized that the totals they are putting onto the board have been way too low. So that's going to be definitely key for them.
So Ali Bangesh switched and now bowling from the north end. 2 deliveries having been bowled in this over. He's conceded a single so far. Janisar Khan moves on to 25. And Captain Majid Rizvi now takes strike for the first time. Majid, of course, historically one of the more destructive batters in the Houston Premier League and beyond. This tremendous, tremendous all-round cricketer. Even though he doesn't bowl as much these days, 20 years ago I knew him as a bowler who also batted. Then he became a batting all-rounder, and now he's a batsman who bowls sometimes. But a really good cricketer, and he will be more than capable of sizing up the situation and being able to adjust his game to what the team needs. But I suspect that he would have preferred to be in about the 14th over as opposed to where he is right now. Short ball sails over the top. One for the over signal by the square leg umpire. That was a very sharp delivery. It almost seemed to have surprised Majid a little bit. Majid, of course, batting without a helmet. I don't know whether or not he'd want to reconsider that because that last delivery had some serious pace to it. Short, helped in the air, not fully committed to that pull shot. He more helped it than pulled it, but it does go in the gap and runs away for 4. A couple of bounces. Majid, of course, is a very destructive hitter. He can hit a ball much harder than that. This one, he didn't necessarily pull it. He more helped it around the corner, but 4 runs just the same, Roshni. Bangesh again. Oh, beautiful. Oh, defended it back to Bangesh. Fielded, really athletic piece of fielding, and immediately threw it back towards the stumps. Hit off of the boot of Majid and got back in time without much harm done. But everybody's on their toes and everybody's looking sharp. And of course, a good fast bowler, Ali Bangesh, he's showing everything in terms of bowling and in terms of athleticism. It's ball down the leg side. Appeal for a catch. Umpire Rakesh Jan immediately signaling that that ball came off of Majid's pad. So a dot ball to end the over. At the end of the over, the score is 49 for 3.
Not out.
49 for 3 is Janisar Khan, 25 from 19. And Captain Majid Rizvi, 4 from 4.
I do want to add in the Powerstars fielding compared to their first game yesterday has been tremendous. They've been on their toes. They've been alert. They've been trying to restrict as many runs as they can, which is really good to see from the team, especially being a morning. And, they're trying to make sure they put in all the effort they can to restrict those runs and whatever they can do. I mean, they have everything well. They've already gotten those wickets, so they already have the Knights, in a tough position. But the Powerstars are still looking really good, really alert, and they're doing a great job in restricting the runs.
And it's that energy that you see in the field and the responsiveness and the communication between team members. That's the sort of thing that fires a bowling side up. And if you're a bowler, the fact that you see your teammates supporting you in that way is energizing to your efforts to be able to deliver the ball in the places where you need to. So that certainly will be something that the Powerstars will be looking forward to having continue. Ball defended back to Naveen Stewart, who is now in his second over. And 49 for 3, we're now in the 8th over. And I think, Roshni, I refuse to ask you what do you think the first innings total is going to be because I know you won't answer. But, whoa, big 6 coming from here, landing right behind us. In our position here in the commentator's booth, it can be a little bit risky sometimes because we're in the line of fire from 2 different directions. But I was asking, to what extent do you think that the Knight Riders can accelerate from where we are right now?
I think with these two, at the crease, it's really right now dependent on them and which way the game can honestly go. I think, we know the capabilities of both of them. So I think it's really important for both of them to build up a partnership. And we have seen in other games, in their middle order, players have fired up. And as I'm
Oh, that
talking,
is
yes,
absolutely
they're
brutal.
absolutely in a tough position now.
They are in a tough position because Janice Arkan, the lone person who has shown resistance, takes on a delivery that was probably a little bit too not full enough for him to try to drive. And that ball ballooned up off the splice of the bat and offered a simple catch at mid-off. And that really is a death blow to, maybe not a death blow, but a huge detriment to exactly what you were just trying to talk about now, for them looking to have this pair settle and then push on towards the end.
It's gonna be, where their goal should be, I think, around that 150, 160 mark, to have it be a close competition. But it's looking a bit of a struggle. I mean, that's where their mark should be, to have a tough, close call. If they get at that 140 mark or below that again, it's going to be really difficult for them to really, especially when you look at the Powerstars and their batting lineup, to constrict that. It's going to take a lot of pressure from the bowlers, early on, especially the opening bowlers, to get in those wickets. And if they can't, then it's going to be really tough for them.
Well, the most important thing I heard from your analysis just now is the fact that you actually called a score.
I called a score of where they should, that is where their goal should be. That is honestly where their goal should be. I don't want to predict a score for them, but I think that is what their goal should be, compared to, knowing how the teams have been and the scores that we've seen. That gives them at a good space to have a tough fight, to try to get close. Anything below that is going to be really difficult for them to kind of, defend. So I think we've seen that mark, that if, any of the teams on this ground at least go past that 170 mark, it's a really tough competition. But right now at this point, like, getting to that 150 mark will definitely be a good competition.
A bit of byplay here. Naveen Stewart, who did not have the ball in his hand, ran up and feigned bowling a delivery. And Majid played the most aggressive pull shot I've ever seen in my life. Laughs and smiles all the way around, but now Naveen has the ball in his hand, defended by Majid. They might be able to no, they won't run for two. They get a single, ball rolls just in front of the square leg umpire. And so one more run to the total. The 50 is up, but more to the point, you're at the point now where there's only, I think, two more balls left in this over by Naveen Stewart. After 8 overs, and you only have 50 runs on the board and 4 big wickets back in the hutch, that truly does put the brakes on any sort of acceleration that you were looking to accomplish. Stewart with a very full delivery. By the way, the new batsman is Nashtosh Kanjige, very experienced cricketer, and we saw him yesterday, and I think he may have surprised a lot of people with the way he was able to score heavily towards the back end of the innings off of Sean Finley. So he definitely has ability. He's more known, obviously, as a very accomplished left-arm finger spinner, but he bats right-handed and is able to. What a catch! Is that a catch? Did it go? No. Umpire is saying no, and in fact, I don't know whether or not he collected that. A diving attempt away there by Prashant Mane. I thought he caught it, and I think it came off the edge, but either way, it's not out. Let's see on the replay. It appeared to just carried, I think, and he spilled it. But either way, a very interesting over comes to an end. 50 the score, 50 for 4. And again, Roshni, we are in the scenario, if you were a Knight Riders fan and you were looking to set the table and then accelerate towards the end, I think you'd be disappointed with where you are right now.
Yeah, I think it's been really disappointing for the Knight Riders. So far, this being their third game, their batting has not clicked so far, which is definitely troublesome in a tournament like this. And, speaking of Nash actually, he is a batsman who can be very destructive. And I think that's, something that the Knight Riders definitely saw in both the games, and that's why he's been sent up. So, we're going to hope, and the Knights will definitely want to hope that these two can now try to build up a partnership, because every time the Knights have tried to build up any partnership, it's been broken by these power stars.
So we're going to have a bit of spin now. The bowler is Adnan Haroon, bowling from the north end, bowling to Majid Rizvi. Majid attempts to cut. Ball does not bounce anywhere near as high as he thought it was going to. He missed it by probably a good 6 inches. Dot ball to start things here in the ninth. I almost said the top of the ninth. Baseball style. Adnan Haroon, right arm off spinner. Not much turn, oh, leg spinner, my bad. Okay, I thought he was going to be an off spinner either way. Not much turn that you would expect, whether off spin or leg spin. Not a whole lot of turn on offer on the artificial wickets. 2 deliveries thus far, 2 dot balls. Here's a delivery, it's slapped down to long off. Fielder coming in off of the boundary and retrieves. So single conceded from the first 3 balls. So a very quiet start to the over if you are a Knight Riders fan, Roshni, and if you are a supporter of the Stars, this is the type of economical bowling that you want to see happen. Another delivery driven into the offside. 2 runs have been conceded from the first 4 balls of the over. 51 for 4 the score. Inside edge by Majid Rizvi onto his pad. A little sort of a muted, a stifled appeal. Clearly an inside edge off the bat onto the pad. So not much in the way of any potential decision having to be made by the umpire. Appeal for catch. The umpire is, Majid is walking. So another death blow here. Majid showing his frustration and disgust. He attempted to cut the first ball of the over, missed it by a fair amount. This delivery, a similar delivery, attempted to cut this one and also and only feathering through a catch to the keeper. The appeal was being given or was being made by the bowling side. Umpire Rakesh Jain did not have a decision to make because Majid, the great cricketer that he is, took that decision away from the umpire and turned and walked away. Something you don't see happen very often at any level of cricket these days. But either way, it's a wicket, the 5th wicket to fall, and further into the doldrums go the Knight Riders, Roshni.
In this 7th edition of the HPL, we've definitely seen the Knight Riders really struggle. In the previous seasons, they usually cruise to the finals, and this tournament looks like, they're going to be putting on a tough fight for this match and the coming matches.
So a very successful first over by Adnan Haroon. Right-handed leg spinner has conceded only 3 runs and taken the big wicket of Majid Rizvi. There's that old saying in cricket that if you want to demoralize a team, you take out the captain. Effectively, you're cutting the head off the snake. And that's exactly what has happened here. Majid Rizvi back in the hutch. The new batsman is Jawad Khalid, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Jawad Khalid is the new batsman.
Wrong. To your left.
The bowler coming into bowl his last over is Ali Bangesh. Well, stroke to mid-off. Quick, good attempt there by a pickup, but it doesn't pick it up cleanly. Adnan Haroon. Underhanded throw comes in, but he's not able to prevent that single. So 53 for 5 the score. Bangesh with a very effective spell so far. He's in his last over. Oh, this ball is clipped to square leg. They'll get a single as John Ross Campbell coming in off the boundary. Underhanded throw from about 45 yards away. That's not easy. It gets it right into the keeper's hands. So 54 for 5. Bangesh, the second bowler to bowl today, and he is now only with 4 balls remaining in his spell. Ooh, little bit of a drive there by Kanjiga. Doesn't exactly control it. Goes in the air for some time, but not much trouble as he gets it between those fielders in the offside in the ring. It goes out to the sweeper on the offside, and they do get a single. So 3 singles to start the 10th over. 55 for 5 the score. Slower delivery and pushed into the offside. No run. Things are slowing down here for the Knight Riders. They are decelerating as opposed to accelerating. Driven again into the offside. 1 ball remaining in the 10th. The score is 56 for 5.
1 ball. So come quickly. 1 ball. 1 ball. So why is the umpire? Finish strong, Hamza. Finish strong.
Last ball of the 10th, very full, driven into the covers, no run. And that gives us 10
Well, I'm going
overs
to
up.
quickly have a quick chat with Naveen. So far, bowled 2 overs, only given away 3 runs, and you've taken a wicket so far. So how are you feeling with this game so far? You guys have the Knights already. 5 of the players have gone into the dugout.
It's good bowling by the bowlers. You know, Sankit and the other kid from the who opened the bowling. They bowled really well. So it was just up to me to come in the middle and apply pressure with my variations, and we've been creating chances, and we've been going very good so far.
We definitely see the Powerstars in a good space. I want to wish you all the best and let you get back to the game. Thank you.
So we're halfway through the innings. There is some conventional wisdom and some objective analysis actually that suggests that a halfway point of the innings in terms of number of runs scored will be the score after the 12th over. In other words, if you double the score after 12, that generally is what you could expect to be the final score of the innings. I don't know that that will hold in this situation because there have been the majority of the big batsmen already have been dismissed. Now, having said that, the 2 who are at the wicket right now, Roshni, Nashtosh Kanjige and Jawad Khalid, they can both accelerate. They can both score heavily. So, again, you're not necessarily in the situation where they'd prefer to be in, but the prospects of a big score, maybe not in the 200 range, but the prospects of a competitive score, maybe in the 140, 150 range, I think are still on the cards.
Yeah, exactly. That 140, 150 range is definitely going to be crucial for them. And as mentioned, these 2 are definitely prospects. In the matches we saw yesterday, you know, each one of them took on that role to, you know, add in that run and accelerate. So I think it would be great for both of them to really talk through the innings, have that communication going so that they can try to build up because they have the overs to go. And it's just about making sure we're not losing another wicket because if they lose any more wickets, it's going to be very, very tough for these Knight Riders. I think they've sent in all their crucial batsmen ahead. And after that, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to really get at that good mark to make the score competitive.
Jawad Khalid is being very watchful here to Adnan Haroon. Jawad, of course, can score really, really heavily. We spoke yesterday about the fact that in the HPL finals a couple of years ago, 5 big sixes in 1 over. Not necessarily looking to hit big at this point. He's just, I think, looking to turn the scoreboard over. So with 1 ball remaining in the 11th over, there's only been 1 run scored from this over so far. And now Nush is going to be facing his first delivery, I believe, to Adnan Haroon. The score is 57 for 5. And again, if you're looking for acceleration, oh, cheeky looking sweep here. That's a very smart shot, actually, because there's nobody deep behind square on the leg side. And they get 2 easy runs. So, Roshni, you can accelerate in different ways. You can accelerate by hitting big, or you can accelerate by looking to see where there are no fielders and get the ball in those areas.
No, absolutely agreed. And I think, scoring those runs right now for these guys just means, not taking any of the risky shots. So taking any singles and doubles, especially where there's no fielders, is definitely going to be the good choice of shot selections.
Completely agree with you. And just for those of you who are in the area close to Pablos, and we'll get the exact address here shortly, but we have it on good authority that this game that is being commentated on here is being shown live in the restaurant. So first of all, good morning to those of you in Pablos who are watching a little bit of cricket. It is a pleasure to have you here. We hope we're doing our best to describe the action. And frankly, if you could not be here at the Katy Hockely ground at the cricket in person, the second best place to be is Pablos.
Just want to add, Pablo loves you.
Well, you tell Pablo that the next time I am ever in the Houston area, my first stop is going to be at his location. Good quick delivery here. Okay, I may have erred. No, this bowler is Hamza Bangesh. Hamza bowled 1 over so far for 4 runs. His second over is now starting, and a good quick delivery to start that over. Dot ball as it beats Jawad Khalid outside his off stump. Here's Bangesh again. So, sort of a flick off of his legs. Didn't really time it very well, did Jawad Khalid. And just a single that goes down to a fielder at deep mid wicket coming in off the boundary, John Ross Campbell. So another run to the total. We are now at 60, Roshni. 60 for 5 in the 12th over. Again, without asking you for an exact score, I think the prospects of making this a competitive match rest on these two having an impact through the rest of the innings. If this partnership is broken, I think the wheels fall off. But these two can still do a whole lot, I think, to make it a competitive score. And if for that to happen in any way, we're going to need, if you're a Knight Riders fan, to have this pair stay there until the end of the innings.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pressure put onto these two, in all the games so far, the Knight Riders. But clearly they're using that pressure to their advantage. This is what they need. I think, with these two, if they get going like this and play the shots whenever they can and get in a boundary or two in every over, it'll get them to a competitive score. I mean, they definitely have the bowlers to back it up. But I think, right now, these two need to make sure that they stay at that crease and don't go back.
Well, just on cue, Jawad Khalid has lifted the ball over the top of a fielder extra cover, a couple of bounces and goes for 4. So there's definitely the opportunity to score runs. And if these two stay there, as we said, they could potentially make trouble for the Powerstars. Delivery much fuller and on leg stump. They run through for a single. Hamza Bangesh himself fields to his own bowling, so only 1 run conceded. The score is now 66 for 5. 1 ball remaining in the 12th over. 7 runs so far conceded from the over. The batters are, of course, Nash Kanjige and Jawad Khalid. And here's the last ball of the 12th over. Dead ball signaled by umpire Naveed Siddiqui as Bangesh loses his run up.
Dead ball.
Ooh, good quick delivery, and in fact stayed a little low. Well control in the end by Kanjiga. Runs it down to third man for a single, and that's the end of the over. At the end of the over, the score is 67 for 5.
And we just want to add about the private dining room for your events. Pablos Restaurant and Club has a dedicated space for all your needs for birthdays, weddings, and all events you might want to do. So reach out to the management and they'll hook you up with a wonderful deal and they'll go over and beyond to take care of you and all your needs for events like these. Pablos Restaurant and Club.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the batsmen are trying to play safe. I mean, they know, I think their roles for the Knights, but they'll definitely be looking to at least, get in those singles and doubles. Right now, there's been a lot of dot balls, and that's just adding more pressure onto them.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's your favorite caster. Back after I'm the one who, me and Munir, were bringing you guys this wonderful stream, so tune in. Now I'm in the casting booth with my co-hosts, Mr. Walters and Miss Roshni. Okay, so I was operating the cameras and I already saw enough. The Knights look quite frustrated. Majid Rizvi, their calm and collected captain, did look like he was losing his cool a little bit. And to be fair, I think the Knights ought to reconsider their strategy. Their batting lineup for 3 games has not worked out well for them. and each time they've chosen to bat first. So maybe I think it's time to reconsider that. Yeah, they won the toss and chose to bat first. I think they should decide to chase a game and see how that goes. Because for a team that's been in the finals 3 years in a row, these are not the performances that you want to see. Usually they have a easy path straight to the finals, but this year it looks like it's going to be an uphill battle. They won one yesterday. Could have been a miracle, could have been a fluke, but both their losses were quite convincing to the Stars, and I say both their losses, and I'm counting this as their second one. And
Good skill, Hamza. Good skill. Back him up, man. Back him up.
Is it the fact that the bowling is so good and the night riders cannot score off of it? Or is it the fact that there is something about the batting that is not good?
I think it's a bit of both, but to be fair, I think more of it goes to the batsmen. Because if we look at the Stars' previous performances, their bowling wasn't phenomenal, right? But this is the first time we've seen their bowling have such a impactful, be so impactful in the match. And to be fair, it's only against the Knight Riders. So I think a lot of the Knight Riders, the situation that they're in, can be attributed to their batsmen rather than the Stars bowling.
Well ball, well ball. Well done, Nick. Well done, Nick. Well done, Nick.
And Brian, just want to add our man Shahiq, who was out for a dentist appointment. He just arrived, and you're seeing all the wonderful ball tracking, all the new shots you're seeing are courtesy of Shahiq. He's doing wonderful work, Shahiq, and appreciate all you're doing.
Well done, Rusty. Well done, Rusty. Well ball, Hamza. Well ball.
Two runs in the over.
You got something to say?
Oh, Brian, you know I'm a man of predictions. So what do you think their score is going to be? At this rate, I'm thinking below 120. Maybe below 130. Okay, below 130 for a fact, maybe below 120. And you know I'm never wrong with these, so you better agree with me. That looks no man's land. You really love your fours. Yesterday was 194, now it's 134.
Anytime the batters run through from 2 runs.
I always remember these things. But look, if y'all saw what just happened, the ball got exponentially slower as it went towards the outfield. And part of that can be a factor. In Houston, it's so hot and humid right now that in the nighttime, a lot of dew gets on the grass and it gets moist and everything, and the soil becomes all rich. But that's not good for the ball necessarily. So that's why we had a delay. We're gonna start at 9:30 originally, but because of this dew and moist, we're starting at 10:30. And when the ball rolls on soil like that, moist soil, it gets slowed down. And when we spoke to the captain, Majid, he said that their score of like 140 could have easily gone to 170 if the soil was cakey and like rough as it's supposed to be. But yeah, we can see. I'm guessing if we interview him after the post game, he's gonna say the exact same thing about the soil. So that's something to look out for. And look, in the afternoon, yeah, you can see those shots going for boundaries, but in the morning, yeah. And that would have been like a cheer shot, but the umpire dismissed it quickly. So, Brian, tell me, if you were on the field right now as a Night Riders player, and you have less than 5 overs remaining, what would your plan be?
You are in a situation now where you have the team that is batting, struggling.
Are your microphones turned on?
He's
I'm not
struggling.
getting. Brian, yours. It's on? I'll check the batteries in a little bit.
I'll finish my answer shortly. Very full delivery, defended back to Naveen Stewart. So yes, you have gotten yourself in the position where you have a very strong hold on this game. So you don't necessarily, as a bowling side, need to change much. The challenge is on the batting side to accelerate. So I think you just keep putting the ball in the right areas. If they start going crazy and playing at blinders or anything like that, then maybe you reassess where you are. But the challenge is on the Knight Riders to force the momentum, to force the innings in the way that they want it to go. So essentially, what I'm saying is that you've proven that what you've done so far is working. So you don't need to change anything. If they start going off and maybe a 13 or 14 run over, then maybe you reassess where you are. But I think as the Stars, you're doing exactly what you need to do right now.
So would you be willing to sacrifice a few wickets just for runs at this point?
I don't necessarily think that it's about wickets at this point. Even, there's now fewer than 5 overs left. I would not even think in terms of wickets. I would simply think in terms of containment. And so, for example, Adnan Haroon has bowled a beautiful spell so far. I'd make sure he gets bowled out. Oh, this is a huge hit. That's a brilliant shot by Jawad Khalid. Big six over cow corner off the back foot. Of course, he's more than capable of doing that. So back to the point, if in this case a very short delivery that was treated the way you'd expect a good batsman to treat a short delivery at this stage of the innings, the only thing you need to do is just go back to your basics. Give me a good ball just short of length on maybe a fourth stump line and make them score off of those balls. If they score off of those balls, more power to them. This ball is short and punched into the covers for no run. But again, the impetus is on the batting side at this point. What you've done so far as a bowling side, if you're the Powerstars, has worked and is working. And you will take 93 for 5 in the 16th over any day of the week, particularly to a side that is as strong batting, at least on paper, as the Knight Riders are. So I wouldn't change a whole lot if I were them.
So, do you think the Knights need to change anything? Because for 3 games in a row, their batting order has performed below expectations. Because their batting order is a powerhouse, essentially, on paper. You're expecting at least 180 out of them every single game. But they failed to do that all 3 times. So do you think they need to change anything? Or
That's a good question. If you ask me what my own personal preference would be, just generally speaking, my preference is to bat second because I'd prefer to know what I'm chasing. But in speaking to Captain Majid Rizvi this morning after the toss, he said that they actually prefer to bat first. They prefer to be the table setters. And he thinks, and this is a really interesting point, that there is more pressure in batting second. So if you're a batting side that's struggling, if you're coming out and looking at a 180 or 90, knowing how far you need to get, that potentially this could be a little bit more difficult if you're already under the pressure of seeing what the score is on the scoreboard that you need to chase. So I think there is certainly some thing that can be said about knowing what the score is that you're chasing, and if you're struggling with the batting, that adds additional pressure. I can certainly understand that argument. And of course, you want to do what you're comfortable with doing. So if they're more comfortable batting first, then I would certainly recommend that they do that. I wouldn't change just for the sake of changing. The bottom line is that whether batting first or second, they just need to bat better. That's what it comes down to.
yeah, and batting first or second, it's really situational. Like you said you would like to bat second. What if like you saw in the Gladiators game, what if the Stallions are putting up 230 runs?
Whoa, we'll get back to that shortly as an LBW shout is made and certainly answered in the affirmative by Rakesh Jan. So Nashtash, I think on this occasion, looking to slap that ball away over mid-wicket. Very full, very straight, almost Yorker length. And he absolutely played across the line, which he would prefer not to have done. Wrapped on the pad. From where we are, it almost looked like the ball was on the middle and leg line, maybe. And umpire thought about it for a couple of minutes, or a couple of seconds, did Rakesh Jan, and eventually answered in the affirmative. So Nashtosh goes. LBW bowled by Sankrith Batula, I believe is the bowler. And further into the doldrums slipped the Knight Riders.
So getting back to that, if you have to chase a score as high as 230,
Yes.
then there's definitely a lot of pressure. And in that situation, I'd want to bat first. But Majid Rizvi, he's talking about table setting, but you cannot table set if you're putting below 100 runs and losing all your best batsmen in the first 5 overs.
So answer that again in a second. Nashtosh Kanjiga 17 from 22. Batula is the opening bowler. He's now into his 3 deliveries remaining in his entire spell. Big wicket here taken to break that partnership, and the new batsman is Jermaine Levine. So I think, again, the point is whether batting first or second, you're going to need to bat better than you are if you are the Knight Riders. Honestly, I think it's easier, if you can believe this, I think it's easier to chase 230 than it is to chase 160. Because if you're chasing 230, you have no choice but to go for it from ball 1. And if that natural aggression that's built into such a chase, I think works to your advantage. It's those middling totals or those middling targets that where you're not necessarily sure whether or not to attack. The ball is outside off stump. Do I leave it alone? Do I go after it? That's where those doubts creep into your mind. A bigger total, particularly with a team that's stacked on paper again as much as the Knight Riders are, I think a chase such as that would work to their advantage more than a chase of a middling target. Appeal for catch, not given. Good first ball there by Batula. Appeal as Jermaine Levine went for a drive, missed it. The ball went through to Prashant Mane, who immediately went up. And umpire this time, Rakesh Jan, answers in the negative. So 95 for 6 is the score.
Yeah, and every ball, as you can see, is going straight to a defender, and they're only running for ones. You know, it's either a boundary or a 1 or a dot, right? And the Knights, I don't know if something's off with them or they just can't perform on a stage like this, but I think they need to fix something, and they need to fix it fast because, look, the playoffs are starting tomorrow. If it doesn't rain, hopefully. Yeah. But look, the playoffs are starting tomorrow, and if they don't get a first or second seed,
Oh, look at that shot. Oh, I'll tell you what. This is a fantastic cricket shot. That ball was not usually to be able to play a shot off of a ball like this. You need more room to be able to create leverage. This ball was very full and actually very straight. So it takes a tremendous amount of power to elevate such a ball and hit it over cow corner for 6. But that's exactly what Jawad Khalid just did. 6 more of the best to him. And at the end of the over, the score is 102 for 6. Amazing shot. Absolutely amazing shot.
great shot right there. Jawad Khalid is taking control of the game little by little. He still's used up a bit too much balls, but let's assume that they had a good score of around 160 right now. Jawad Khalid would be doing his job really well. But unfortunately, a heavy hitter like him is being put in the wrong place at the wrong time because no one assumed that batting order to get out so quickly.
Well, Jawad Khalid, is the difference between 150 and 120 right now. With 3 overs remaining in the innings. Jermaine Levine, who certainly can bat, who certainly can be explosive, but I think all eyes are going to be on Jawad Khalid at this point. Levine now going to be facing up against Hamza Bangesh, who's conceded 20 runs from his 3 overs so far. Big swipe and a miss, and this ball gets through Prashant Mane, goes down to third man for what I believe is going to be a bye. Let's see if there's a signal. Yep, Signal by umpire Navid Siddiqui. But more importantly, more to the point, it gets Jawad Khalid back on strike. So this will be an interesting matchup. Hamza Bangesh has bowled well so far, but we will see as we get close to the end of the innings how Jawad Khalid approaches the rest of this innings. So 17 balls remaining in the innings. So now is the time to go big if you are Jawad. And with only 4 wickets remaining, we're coming down close to the end of the innings either way. So this is the time to actually start scoring if you're Jawad. Oh, top edge over third, short third man. That's going to run away for 4. Certainly did not go in the direction he was looking to play it. He was looking to play that more of extra cover, I believe. But a thick top edge. And they say sometimes that cricket is a game that rewards aggression. An aggressive shot there by Jawad Khalid. Top edge taken, and it flies over that fielder, short third man, runs away down to the boundary for 4. "107 for 6 to score." Hamza again. Bang! That's going to be 6 more. What a shot. What a huge hit. Just landing about 3 or 4 yards to our left here in the commentator's booth. I think it is Jawad Khalid time.
Absolutely. This just shows what he's capable of. It's just that he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's not used to the situation. Maybe, yeah, like I said earlier, if this was different, if they had like 160 right here, this would be a phenomenal performance by him. And he's about to hit 50. So good job. Props to Jawad Khalid. For sure.
Strokes this into the offside for a single. The score now 114 for 6. Jermaine Levine back on strike now. Hamza Bangesh with 3 balls remaining in his spell. He's now conceded, 2 balls remaining in his spell rather. He's now conceded 34 runs from those 3 overs and 4 balls. Pushed into the covers. That's good cricket by Jermaine. Knowing that the man Jawad Khalid is the one who's heating up, absolutely obliges to giving him the strike. So a single taken and 1 ball remaining. 13 from the over so far. 1 ball remaining in the spell of Hamza Bangesh rather. And let's see how Jawad Khalid approaches this last delivery. This ball is clipped to square leg for a single, and that is the end of the over. Jawad Khalid will keep the strike. And now a word from Pablos.
Nuestro mundo está evolucionando y por ello necesitamos un espacio donde se encuentra la variedad.
Hay un lugar en Katy donde puedes conseguir una variedad de platillos internacionales y eventos para la comunidad que no te puedes perder.
Pablos Restaurant and Club.
Menciona la frase "Hola Pablo" para reclamar tu 50% de descuento en la cuenta del restaurante.
Con ambiente familiar.
So back here at the match, this is the start of the 19th over. Oh, Jawad Khalid looking to go big here. Huge drive essayed, but completely missed it and saved for an under edge that rolls to mid wicket for no run. Ali Bangesh is in the middle of his last over, the penultimate over of the innings. And he is bowling to a man who I believe has full license to go at the bowling here. Slap to mid wicket, no run again. That's good field placement. The last two balls have gone exactly in that direction. In fairness, Jawad was looking to elevate that ball above that mid wicket fielder. Did not get it the way that he wanted to. 116 for 6 is the score. 2 dot balls to start the 19th over. And in fact, I think the fielding side is thinking exactly what we were just thinking. That fielder at mid-wicket is now running back onto the boundary. And the fielder who was down at third man is coming in inside the circle. Full toss. And it is punched to mid-wicket, or that man is short mid-wicket again. 3 dot balls on the trot here in the 19th over. This is a great start to the over if you're the Powerstars. 9 balls remaining in the entire innings. Three straight dot balls to start the 19th. You would think that they'd be looking to take whatever runs are on offer here. Yes, they'd prefer to have some big hits from Jawad Khalid, but you also need to be looking for any singles that might be on offer. And with the fielders in the inside of the circle back on the line, you at least have to try to take those singles if they present themselves. Big swing and a miss, but they're going to run through for a bye. One, that's all they'll get. And in fact, no bye signal by umpire Rakesh Jan. So apparently that was an under edge from the bat of Jawad Khalid. Jermaine Levine now on strike. 117 the score. Now field changing around a little bit for the left-hander. There's a deep backward square leg. There's a deep cow corner. There's a long on and there's a long off. And then a sweeper on the offside. Of course, in this version of cricket, you're allowed a maximum of 5 people outside the inner circle. Those 5 are the ones I just mentioned. Jermaine Levine now on strike, facing Ali Bangesh. Full and driven in the air. They're going to take a quick single. The throw comes into the non-strikers end. Do they take a second? Yes, they do. An overthrow. A little bit of sloppy cricket there. The throw came back into the bowler's end. And Ali Bangesh didn't necessarily commit fully to cutting off that ball, and it got by him and trickled into the into the onside, at least if you're Jermaine Levine. And so they get a couple runs where they should have only gotten 1. But more to the point, there's only 7 balls remaining in this entire innings, and the score is 119. Oh, under edge, and that is a great piece of fielding by Prashant Mane, the keeper. The under edge, and he dove away to his right to prevent that ball from getting by him. So at the end of the 19th over, very economical over, 3 runs conceded only in the 19th over, which doesn't happen very often. Okay, so we are back here in the Katy Hockely cricket ground. The last over coming up, 6 balls remaining in this innings. 119 the score, but more to the point, the main characters in this part of the play are Naveen Stewart with the ball and Jawad Khalid with the bat. Anything could happen in this next 6 balls, so strap in and see what happens. Here's Naveen Stewart. Slapped in the air, square leg, 4 runs. Bit of an awkward bounce there. John Ross Campbell running around to his left from square leg was not able to cut that off. So 4 runs to start the over. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is 50 for Jawad Khalid. And I said earlier that he was going to be the difference between a competitive score and just a so-so score. Well, we're now to the point where he has 5 balls remaining, already has 50 on the board, and is looking to put his team in a position to have a competitive score here. Oh, slapped over. In fact, this goes top edge, running down to third man for 4 more. So he was certainly aiming to have that ball come toward us here at long on. It went over the head of the short third man fielder, top edge, and 4 more to the total. So I mentioned to strap in because something was going to happen one way or the other. The first 2 balls of the over have yielded 8 runs. Naveen Stewart now, let's see what his response is. Slow ball in the air. Fielders at long on and long off. 6 more for Jawad Khalid. So the first 3 balls of the over have yielded 14 runs. Difference between a competitive score and a so-so score. And I think we're now trending toward the point where we have a target being set by the Knight Riders that their bowlers can bowl at. But we're not done. Here's Naveen Stewart again. Slower ball, under edge. Do they run? No, they don't take that single. Now, the ball runs all the way down to fine leg, but Jawad Khalid refuses that single because he wants to face the next 2 balls. The score is 1-3-3. 2 balls remaining. Here comes Naveen Stewart again. Slower ball in the air, down the ground. They'll only get 1 here, I believe. Oh, they're coming back for the second. Oh, this is good cricket. They are going to concede a run out, but more importantly for the Knight Riders, it gets Jawad Khalid back on strike. So good cricket by Jermaine Levine to sacrifice his wicket. Certainly no realistic chance of him getting back to his end in time, but they made the sacrifice such that Jawad Khalid is back on strike to face the last ball. And, oh, by the way, Moise, what's the current score? I was just wondering.
All right, you win this one, but look, there's 1 more ball. I'm gonna bet everything that it's not gonna end on 134.
This is going to be a perfect Yorker, outside off stump, big swipe and a miss. Final score 134.
Hope not, but I don't know. You got me. Look, it's not gonna happen again. I'm telling you. Right,
here's the last ball.
And they run it.
They're gonna run away for 4 buys, I believe. Yeah. 4 buys.
Oh,
so the final score is 138.
Well, you weren't wrong about that.
I missed my prediction.
But it went for 4.
I missed my prediction by 4 runs. But in the context of the overall game, while 138 is not an imposing score, it does give the Knight Riders something to aim at. So thankfully, a brilliant innings on the part of Jawad Khalid. 6 to 5 of the best from 41 balls. And he alone is the difference between this game being over at the halfway point and there still being potentially some intrigue left in this game. So, signing off for now, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes for the chase.
And now for the halftime show.
Boys, you're pulling everything down. Yeah. This cable, slack it. Everything almost fell down. Careful, careful. Check the capture card, Moise. Check the capture card. Almost fell. Capture card. Okay, just keep it on. Let's do one. No, it went off. No, capture card is on. Question mark. Now it came back on. And just plug it in harder. It's good now? Now it's back on.
Nuestro mundo está evolucionando y por ello necesitamos un espacio donde se encuentra la variedad.
Hay un lugar en Katy donde puedes conseguir una variedad de platillos internacionales y eventos para la comunidad que no te puedes perder.
Pablos Restaurant and Club.
Menciona la frase Hola Pablo para reclamar tu 50% de descuento en la cuenta del restaurante.
Con ambiente familiar
¿Y multicultural?
Come to Pablos Restaurant and Club.
in almost said in Prairie View, in Katy. Jawad, your team was struggling, and we mentioned it several times about the top order not firing, and you needed some impetus towards the back end of the innings. Tell me about your 65 off 41 and how it contributed to the overall game.
Yeah, I think, Brian, what's been happening is that our top order is not, we are a very top order, but I think there is full credit goes to the power start. They bowled brilliantly in the start. You guys see they were fast, they were swinging it, they were at the bowlers. They used the new ball really well. They did not let the bowlers batsmen get away from the ball. So that was important. About my inning, I think by the time I went in, we just had to survive 20 overs. That was the only thing on my mind. Can I play 20 over? Can I get 110, 120? I'll be happy. It ended up being better than that, so I think we got a good comparative score.
Now, playing under pressure, which you've had to do for a couple of these games, what do you think it is with the top order, that's been kind of creating so much pressure on that middle order to really take it and get the team to a competitive score?
Yeah, I think for the batsman, cricket is a one-ball game, right? So you can be the best batsman. You can be Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting, Brian Lara. You get one ball, you're out. Your day is over. So it's a very tough game for the batsman. I think our batting squad is good. We are just not clicking in the first 3 games, but we still have 2 more games to go, plus hopefully the playoffs. So I'm pretty sure in the ability of my top order, they're going to score.
Now, scoring in that 138 runs and 139, looking to defend that, what is going to be the plan, especially for the bowlers? We know that the match you guys lost yesterday, it became really much of a challenge to bring that down. And we know the Powerstars, have a really good batting lineup. So what's going to be kind of that game plan in the beginning, especially to get in those wickets?
Yeah, if you look at our 2 games yesterday, we lost at 140, but we won at 135. The main difference was in the power play, we took wickets. So our intent would be if we can get 2 or 3 people out in the first 6 overs, after that the ball is so soft you can't hit it out. Like literally you have to really, really work hard to get the ball out. And the outfield is slow, so you got to run for those runs. It's 100 degrees plus. So I think we're going to just bank on that.
139 targets in 120 balls. Who wins this game?
Us.
You heard it here. Good job talking to you.
Thank you.
This was yours, right? Yeah, let's change the battery. Do you have a screwdriver? Do we need one?
मेरा जो backpack है ना, my that camera bag outside pocket has new zero cell.
Is getting better and better.
Wait, what camera bag?
Yeah,
Yellow one?
it flashed a couple of times. I think the batteries are giving in. They've been running since yesterday.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, God.
Did they all flash? Or?
Yeah, it's catching our word. So I will make sure all microphones are turned off. Is there anything that's on? There's no force. I'll just cut it.
Back for the start of the chase. The combatants are in the middle, John Ross Campbell and Nikit Kumar. The bowler for the Knight Riders is Asad Shafiq. First two deliveries have gone down the leg side. The first one for a wide, the second for a wide plus an extra run. So two deliveries have been bowled, none of them legal, and 3 runs on the board. Unfortunately, if you are the Knight Riders and you're trying to defend a relatively low total, the last thing you want to do, Roshni, is start spraying the ball down the leg side.
It's going to be really important for the Knight Riders to, one, get in those early wickets, but also not to be giving away any extras. We saw how the Powerstars, had tight bowling, restricted runs, and I think they really need to make sure they don't have any sloppiness shown on the field, including for the bowlers. It's going to be really important for them to get in those early wickets. As, when we talked to Javad, he mentioned that they've had 2 matches, both around the same score. One they lost, one they won. But the reason behind why they won that match was getting in those early wickets in the power play. So that's going to be very crucial. And knowing how Ali Shafiq, with his caliber, he's played domestics for Pakistan, he's played PSL. So I think a lot goes in his couple of overs in the beginning of the match.
Delivery down, maybe aiming just down the leg side, wraps Nikit Kumar on the pad. Appealed by the Knight Riders and answered in the negative by umpire Naveed Siddiqui. At the end of all of that, it's just a dot ball. So 2 legal deliveries have been bowled thus far. 3 without loss, the score. Ali Shafiq from the south end. This ball is clipped down to square leg. Do they want to run 2? No, they don't. There's a fielder down there coming in off the boundary. Good, strong throw by Nashtash Kanjige right over the top of the stumps. And the first run off of the bat. So 4 without loss of score. They need another 135 runs from 117 balls. Certainly, if you were to look to handicap where things are at this point, you would want to say that the Powerstars have a nose in front. If you wanted to assign percentages, I would say that percentage would be probably 6 to 8%. But you still, as a Knight Rider squad, want to give yourself every chance to be able to win the game. So, Roshni, I'd prefer to see them not bowl any extras. I prefer to see them feel like Tigers and give themselves every chance to win this game.
For these Knight Riders, I mean, they can't be looking at this game being a low scoring. They have a competitive total, which, if the bowlers get in those wickets or restrict those runs, they're always in the competition. So I don't think they need to really worry. Obviously, the Powerstars have that upper hand because they did restrict them very well compared to the batting lineup that the Knights have. But, yeah, it's going to be really important for the bowlers, for the Knights, to get those early wickets. And obviously, as you mentioned, not to give away any extras.
Good delivery by Ali Shafiq, defended solidly by Campbell. Of course, you don't necessarily need to look to score heavily here if you are the Powerstars, because the target, even though you still have to go get the target, but it's not by any means an insurmountable target. So you would think that just being able to play sensible cricket, take the 1s and 2s when they present themselves, and if you get a bad ball, you put it away. You think that would be their approach to be able to take this victory home.
For both the opening bowlers, for the Knight Riders, I think their goal will be to try to get, as many dot balls as they can, try to restrict those runs, to create some frustration with the opening batsmen, to play a loose shot to get those wickets.
That's the 3rd delivery that's sprayed down the leg side by Ali Shafiq. He will not want to have done that. So 4 runs have...
John Ross Campbell, right-arm batsman, favorite player, Chris Gale. John Ross Campbell, right-arm batsman, favorite player, Chris Gale.
4 runs and extras have been given away thus far in the over. Oh, attempted pull down the leg side, missed out there. I think that ball may have just bounced over the top of the leg stump line. Either way, it's a dot ball to end things. And so at the end of 1 over, the score is 5 without loss. Another 134 runs needed from 114 balls. Amir Syed is now the delivery to Nikit Kumar is defended back down the pitch, no run. Almost instant replay of the first delivery as it's defended back down to the pitch. So quite the 5 runs that have scored, 4 of them have been extras. And here's another run off the bat. This ball is fended down to square leg. Single, there's one fielder outside of the circle on the leg side. That's that fielder deep square leg. And there is another fielder outside the circle located at mid-on. Of course, in the first 4 overs, or first 6 overs rather, you can only have 2 fielders outside that inner circle. 1 run conceded so far in the second over of the innings. And a very quiet, sedate start here by the Powerstars. Single taking that left arm over the wicket angle. In theory, what you'd line to be more on off stump or maybe even with stump line. From that angle, if he's bowling a body line, so this becomes very easy for the batter to just up the ball on the leg side and get single, which is what they've done so far. That's more the line that he'd like to bowl. Definitely surprised Kumar with that ball. Looking to, I think, play that ball again on the leg side, but his delivery was much more on the line of off stump. He certainly missed out there. And again, from that left arm over angle, what you're trying to do is slant the ball across that ball when you're left-handed. And that ball, that 4th ball of the over is exactly what he's trying to do with the left-handed bowler. And he's given. Very full. I believe from that angle, swinging it back into Kumar. Went for a big drive on the leg side, missed it. And the appeal was answered in the affirmative by umpire Rakesh Jain. So the first wicket falls, and that puts a little bit of energy into the Knight Riders here, Rashida. What do you think?
I would say that was, a very good wicket for them. Nikit has played well yesterday as well, so I think getting that wicket in. And I think so far with the Knight Riders, despite the extras they've given, they've kept the Powerstars pretty quiet. So they just need to clean up those extras. Otherwise, they've been bowling pretty well. They've been, making sure that runs aren't given to them besides those extras, So I think that's how they'll get more wickets, frustrating these batsmen, not letting them have too much room to really take shots. And I think that is how they'll get back in the game very easily and be at a comfortable point. I think this wicket is definitely, as you mentioned, going to bring some life into the game for the Knights and bring some energy into the field.
Completely. So, you're defending a small total. or at least a middling total. The last thing that you want to happen is spray the ball all over the place, which is what happened a little bit in the first over. The number one thing you want to have happen is to take wickets, because that is the best way of keeping a team silent. So a big wicket there to start things off. Richie Bardwaj is now the batsman who's coming in to replace Nikhil Kumar. And joining John Ross Campbell at the crease, you would think, again, the plan still is the same for the Powerstars. No need to do anything rash or anything drastic. Normal, proper cricket should win you this game as long as you don't panic. But the one thing that can sort of have some panic set in is if you start losing wickets and runs, and that's exactly what the Night Riders are doing.
Coming back into the bowling attack now, for this over, he does need to make sure those extras, are kept tidy.
Outside off, attempted cut, still standing there, celebration. Campbell is absolutely frustrated. Took some time. I think he was waiting for the umpire to raise his finger, but it was pretty much a foregone conclusion with the ball thrown high in the air by the keeper and the entire fielding team celebrating. So another wicket goes down. And here are the couple of things that we just mentioned would be what sort of interrupts things for the Powerstars if they start losing wickets. So overall, you have the potential of pretty interesting game developing here, because if they lose one or two more wickets, the cat will really be among the pigeons.
Yes, absolutely. I think we're going to see a very competitive game, very close game. If they keep this up, I think we were mentioning how it's going to be up to these opening bowlers to really get those key wickets, and they have absolutely done that. We can see that energy with the Night Riders. They were looking, this was the plan, and they've executed it perfectly. And I think it's really good for the bowlers to really back up, that score that they are trying to defend.
So 7 for 2. Do we have a thriller on our hands?
I absolutely believe we do. So we have to see how the Powerstars, try to build up this innings. They are starting to get a little bit under pressure. They still have a batting lineup that's there, but if they lose another wicket in the power play, it's going to become very, very interesting. They're going to need some batsmen to also step up in their game, play in innings like Nash and Javad. So hopefully for the Powerstars it doesn't get to that point, but the Night Riders definitely have that upper hand right now.
I think that it shows the importance of being able to consolidate the way that Nash and Jawa did towards the end of their innings. Because now, with you and Nicholson joining Rishi Bardwaj at the crease, it shows the difference between a target of somewhere around 110 and a target of 138, 139 rather. And those 139 runs look a lot more imposing when you're losing quick wickets. Having said that, the best way to release that type of pressure is again to start giving away extras. And this is the first thing that has happened here. Start the innings for Nicholson. He faces the ball well outside off stump. That's just wide. So 8 for 2 the score. Lifting delivery on maybe fourth stump line. And well handled in the end by Nicholson, who just rolled his arms and has the ball fizzed through to the keeper. Eight for 2. Ali Shafiq in his second over has taken that one wicket that fell with the first ball of this over and has conceded 6 runs, most of those extras. Another ball outside off stump and goes through to the keeper, a little bit wider on this occasion, maybe a 5th or a 6th stump line, but still very much within the guidelines indicated by the wide line on the offside. So a little bit of pressure has seeped in. And again, if you're handicapping the result of this game, you'd still like the Powerstars to be on top. But you don't want to have happen is if you're the Powerstars for them to be tied down and having a pressure being built. And that's exactly, I think, what's starting to happen now. Defended very, very nicely by Henderson. So, Rashi, you mentioned that Ali Shafiq has played in the PSL. Tell us a little bit more about him.
Yeah, so Ali Shafiq in the last year's edition of the PSL played for Multan Sultan. He has been, one of their key bowlers. And this season he actually came to America, so he has been, exploring cricket in America. We've seen him play in numerous tournaments as well. And I think, he's getting used to playing on these different types of wickets, which he had told me, he's not really used to. So maybe, after the innings, we'll speak to him about that, considering the extras that he's been given, despite when he's removed that, he's been bowling very, very well. He's taken the wickets as well. So I think maybe we can ask him, if that's kind of been difficult for him to judge when he's bowling, in terms of the changes in the wickets.
That's an interesting observation. Obviously, if you're accustomed to playing on proper turf wickets, it's a bit of an adjustment to come and play on a concrete wicket. Having said that, that wouldn't necessarily affect the language of bowling, so I'd be interested in hearing his response to that. 8 for 2 the score, 131 more runs needed from 103 balls. And now the lifting delivery outside off goes through to the keeper. So good economical over on this occasion by Ali Shafiq. 1 run conceded from it, that 1 run being wide. And at the end of 3, the score is 8 for 2.
Going halfway through the power play, I would believe that the Powerstars definitely have a little bit of pressure on them, considering the wickets that have fallen, and especially not really being able to, get in any runs. We saw Ali really, constricted any runs, wasn't even allowing, just gave them 1 extra and took a wicket in that over. So I think the Knight Riders are, executing their plan very, very well for the power play. And, I think their goal is to get at least 1 more wicket, and then the Powerstars are definitely, going to find some difficulties. And it's going to be very hard for the incoming batsmen to get set and, build on that pressure.
You're absolutely right. We're now going to have a 4th over match. Being bowled by the number 2 bowler on the side. Left arm over the wicket. Bowling 2. Bardwaj. Bardwaj thus far has actually not faced any deliveries. No runs scored, no balls faced, so he'll be looking to open his account here. Field with a man down deep on the boundary of long on, and another man square of the wickets on the boundary. That's square leg. So again, in the field restriction or in the power play, the field restriction is such that you have to have 7 inside the circle for those 2 everything. Single taken of man that we just spoke about on the leg side of the square leg boundary coming in. 9 for 2 to score. 131 runs needed from 130 runs needed from 101 balls.
I think that's absolutely doable. As a matter of fact, even after those 2 opening batsmen got out, that's perfectly doable. So, this is their normal regular cricket. Would you rather have a bowler who has a solid economy of 3, okay? Or if you want a bowler who has an economy of 15, but he takes 3 wickets in his 4 overs?
This game, the first option that you just gave us is the best option. Because 45 runs in 3 overs, you're only asking for the rest of the team to score less than 90 or less than 100 runs. off stump. Again, to repeat the point, as a left-handed bowler from bowling from over the wicket, what you're trying to do is to slant that ball, cross him, and hit that line that he just hit just now, that off-stump line, or maybe just that fourth stump line. That is always going to be a very difficult delivery for the right-handed batsman to be able to handle. So, Rashmi, your thoughts?
I would say for both these batsmen, I mean, with Rishi batting, I think the pressure you can see is definitely building. They are trying to get the runs ticking, but the more restrictions that they have, but right now they have just gone extra. So that's definitely going to help Rishi, try to get his innings going. I think both of them are having a little bit of difficulties, getting going, especially with Ever. He's only gotten 1 run off of 7 balls. So I think, they're really looking to try to accelerate, and try to get both of themselves going with a partnership.
Completely. On their side again. Field for an LBW. Quick throw at the stumps, not out. So obviously from that angle, as I mentioned, I hate to keep repeating it, but if you are too straight as a left-handed bowler from over the wicket, then A, that negates any LBW shout, and then B, it gives the batsman potentially easy scoring opportunities down the leg side. So he'll want to bowl more on the proper line, and that line is the line that he wants to be able to bowl. As a big drive by Rishi Bardwaj is missed. And so another dot ball to end things. And so at the end of the 4th over, the score is 11 for 2. I will ask you, since you're the one asking me all the questions here, Moit. I almost called you Moit. You're not Moit now. Is it easier for a batsman to score off of a left-handed bowler or a right-handed bowler for a right-handed batsman?
For a right-handed bowler, it'd probably be easier to score off a right-handed bowler. Huh. You give me something to think about, actually.
I'm really interested in hearing your response here.
Okay. So I'm a logical person. Okay.
Okay.
So look,
Let's hear your
if
logic.
it's a right-handed batsman, you can't bowl to his left, right? Or else it'd be a wide. Right? So
Correct.
if a right-handed bowler were to bowl completely straight onto a right-handed batsman, I think it depends on what the batsman is used to, because they could both be equally as challenging. And I don't play cricket, so I've never been put in that situation where I can just say I've never gone against a right-handed or a left-handed bowler. So I think you got to answer that for me.
Bowler is Laksh Parikh. Left-handed, sliced away over the top of extra cover. That's going to run away for 4, is it? Slowing down and just getting to the boundary now. So 4 runs to start with. To go back to your analysis, I don't think you're incorrect. I think a right-handed bowler bowling to a right-handed batsman is easier. It's easier for the right-handed batsman to play, because from that angle, particularly if he's bowling over the wicket, that ball is slanting into the right-hander, and it makes it easier to play on the leg side. Or really, all options are open in terms of offside and leg side, depending on where the bowler is pitching the ball. As a left-handed bowler bowling to a right-handed batsman, at that angle going across him, it makes it a little bit more difficult. It's a much better delivery by Laksh. First one was a little too full and a little too wide, and it was elevated over the top. This one on a perfect length, maybe jagging back slightly into the right-handed Nicholson, and he defends it for no run.
And we've noticed that the Powerstars, all of the games haven't been as high scoring. Like they played the Stallions, and they had around 140 to 60 runs as compared to the Stallions 205. And in their second game also, they won it because of their fielding.
Huge hit here. So another mistake, I think, by Laksh. A little bit too full. In fact, it was a low full toss. And even with pressure building by any good batsman worth his salt is going to like that full toss, and it was actually a slower ball also. So an easy ball to pick up and loft over the top, straight over the top of everybody, straight for 6. And now a lot of the pressure has been released from the batting side, and it's now onto the shoulders of the young Parik. 21 for 2 is now the score. And with the fielding side having only 2 players outside, one of them is deep on the onside. But big swing on the inside edge here, runs through for a single. But with 2 fielders outside the circle, one down at long on and the other at square leg, it really is important for Laksh to get that ball exactly where he wants it. And if he gets it too full, even with that fielder down there at long on providing cover, I think any good batsman will be able to score under those conditions. So the margin of error, a margin for error, is relatively small for such a good bowler. It's a much better delivery. Driven into the offside, mid-off. And the fielder runs in, picks up. A quick single taken. So I think, Roshni, that with them only needing now 116 runs from 91 balls, as we spoke about earlier, the only chance that you're going to give yourself is if you restrict them from scoring, and if you bowl good and tight, and if you save runs in the field with truly athletic fielding and dedication. Any one of those elements that does not go right, you're essentially conceding the game.
Yep. And, you know, with this over, it definitely helped relieve that pressure from the Powerstars, considering the power play. But I think they are definitely on track. When we look at the Powerstars side, you know, with these 2 batsmen out there, we know they can be very destructive. They can play long innings as well, and I think that's something that they will look to do.
In the air, diving attempt. Oh, he had to go for it, but he missed it. And they'll run through for 2. I'll tell you what, that was not a very bad delivery. It was lofted in the air, and there's a fielder who has been placed there down at long off. Came in maybe 10 yards, dove forward, and not able to get there. 2 runs have been conceded. So very eventful over. 14 runs come from that over, so you're certainly going to want to clean that up if you're Laksh. But he almost got a wicket with that last delivery.
Absolutely, and I think it was just an over that the Powerstars really needed to, you know, get going. I know there was a lot of pressure that was building. There was a lot of dot balls that were being bowled in the previous overs, so this over definitely will hopefully get them set for the next.
If you will note something, the last 2 bowlers have been left-handers, 2 left-handed seamers. In my mind, the next 2 bowlers who need to feature in this innings are Nosh Kanjiga and Jermaine Levine. All left-handers, particularly the spinners, they'd be moving the ball, turning the ball, if there is any turn, away from the right-handers. To win this game, they're going to have to take wickets. And I think one of the most attacking ways of being able to take wickets under these circumstances is to continue with that left arm attack and include the spinners as well. Under edge, oh, that should not have conceded a run, and in fact it does not. A little bit of confusion there. Maybe if there had been a response by the non-striker, Nicholson, they could have stolen a run, but at the end of all of this, it's just a dot ball. But I really would like to see what happens if Captain Majid Rizvi were to go on an all-out attack here and just be aggressive and put the 2 spinners on. Even in the last over of the power play here, I think there could be an opportunity there. Ball is.
I think it would be great to, you know, see how that team works in. Obviously, we have Honor coming back into the attack, and so far he has bowled very well. So I think maybe they're bringing him, you know, into the attack to hopefully get another wicket in.
26 for 2 the score. Nicholson is the batsman now on strike. 113 needed from 88 balls. Nicholson on 14 from 12. Bardwaj 3 from 7. And Amir Said, man with the ball in his hand. No run as that ball is forced down to sort of a deep gully position. That fielder easily picking the ball up and retrieving it. So no run, no chance of a run there. I think there's going to be one or two interesting twists in this game. And I think those twists are going to happen when the left-handed spinners come on. Nash, obviously a world-class spinner. Jermaine, who is also a fantastic quality spinner. And the added element that he has is the arm ball, which straightens as it goes into the right-hander, and the stock ball, which slightly moves away. So there's going to be something interesting that happens in this way. It's not necessarily going to be an easy charge toward victory here for the Powerstars.
And Amir's side has done some phenomenal bowling so far, keeping that economy very low, especially in the power play, denying them those necessary runs. We've said this before, an ideal power play would be around 60, 65 runs, and Amir Syed has absolutely denied that and taken it away from the Powerstars.
$27 for 2 with 2 runs, or 2 balls rather, remaining in the power play. Ooh, big putt outside off stump and a miss. Last ball of the power play coming up in the score at 27 for 2. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the field is able to spread out in another delivery. Now, Captain Majid Rizvi directing his fielder deep square leg around more to a mid-wicket position. There's a fielder now down at long on also. Those are the 2 outside. After this one delivery, he'll be able to put 3 more fielders outside of that circle. And then scoring, in theory, would be a lot more difficult. And defended into the offside, and they run through for a quick single. That's a good response here from Richard Bardwaj. Immediately calls, and his partner is compliant. They go through for that single. With things now, I think, going to be slowing down a little bit more in terms of the scoring rate, because there will be a more defensive field. The screws, I get the feeling that the screws are tightening a little bit for the Powerstars. Roshni, how do you see this happening from now?
I definitely think for the Knight Riders, the power play restricting Powerstars, especially to 28 and having lost already 2 wickets, it gives them a good space. It's definitely good for the Knights, to build on this and now try to get wickets in, especially, having more fielders in the outer circle. But for the Powerstars, they do need to look to get going. They still have many batsmen to come, so I think for them, they really need to get the scoreboard ticking. Even though they have many overs and it's a low score, I think it's really important for them to also be in a good space so that they don't get frustrated and give away their wicket, with any type of delivery.
So Moyes, the man with who truly, I think, made this into a game with Jawad Khalid, 65 from 41. He's now being asked to come on and deliver with the ball. So he scored a good, solid 65 runs, almost a half of the entire score of his team in the first innings. And he's now being asked to bowl some good quality outswing to the right-handed batsman to see whether or not he can get something positive going, restricting the runs and taking the wickets.
Right hand bat, right arm off spinner, favorite player, Sachin Tendulkar.
And some good bit of editing right there, giving more insight on the player. But on the subject of Jawad Khalid, yes, he put up a good 60 and turn this into a game. I think if he can get a wicket, or keep that economy low, he's definitely man of the match for sure. And he starts off with a wide, which is not what you want as your first ball. Like I was saying, you want to keep that economy low because 110 from 84 is perfectly doable, especially for a team like the Powerstars. They can play some regular cricket, play slow, and it appears that one of the batsmen is a bit hasty right there. But with some communication, he gets back.
Discipline bowling.
Jawad Khalid again, full and punched down the ground for a single. Jawad Khalid, maybe 10, 12 years ago, was a much, much quicker bowler. Somebody who could blow you away with pace. And obviously he's built, first of all, he's built like a freight train. Secondly, he's very tall and has a good high arm action. These days, he will not blow you away with pace, but his advantage these days is his accuracy and his ability to move the ball away from the right-hander. Short, in the air, down to long on, and it's going to go for 4. So a little bit more runs than they would have preferred here are the Knight Riders, conceding way more than they wanted to. A wide to start the over by Jawad Khalid, and now gives up a 4 straight down the ground. So there's the release of pressure that we're talking about, Roshni. And if they don't get a hold of the scoring rate and get a hold of any loose deliveries, this game will not go all the way to the 20th over.
And Edward Nicholson is putting up some good numbers right now. Not in terms of like overall T20 sense, but in the terms of this game, he's doing what needs to be done. He's getting boundaries here and there, and more importantly, he's playing safe.
That is a lovely, lovely square drive. That is a fantastic shot. Square of the wicket. And it runs away across the ground. 4 of the best, and more pressure being released here, Roshni.
For the Powerstars, honestly, I mean, from the beginning with these two batsmen, there wasn't as much pressure compared to the runs and the number of balls they have left. But obviously, any shots like this is just, helping them and letting them play their natural game as well. There's not too much pressure I think they have yet. If a wicket does fall, maybe that'll add on to the pressure. But I think now these batsmen can just relax and play their natural game.
Just need 1 wicket, yeah. That's it.
Partnership of 27 runs has formed off 27 balls. Maybe they could try stepping up the runs, but I think they're doing a really good job right now. Just snatching a 1 right there.
I still think it's going to come down to the left-handed spinners. And I think I'll be really interested in seeing whether or not Captain Majid Rizvi stays with Amir Saeed from the north end or if he goes to one of the spinners after this over. Because I think it's going to be under edge. It's going to run past the keeper. They'll get maybe 2. Oh, it goes all, no, good piece of footwork down there by Jermaine Levine. Tell you what, I thought that would have gone for 4, but I think some footwork down there saved 2 runs. That's good work by Jermaine. And at the end of the over, the score is 41 for 2.
And that was a somewhat expensive over in terms of this game from Jawad Khalid. He definitely needs to tone on that and get a wicket or 2. But more importantly, you can't be getting wides, especially in this stage. This is such a crucial match because both these teams have won 1 and lost 1. So this game will be a huge decider on who moves on to the playoff stage tomorrow.
Nuestro mundo está evolucionando y por ello necesitamos un espacio donde se encuentra la variedad.
Hay un lugar en Katy donde puedes conseguir una variedad de platillos internacionales y eventos para la comunidad que no te puedes perder.
Pablos Restaurant and Club.
Menciona la frase Hola Pablo para reclamar tu 50% de descuento en la cuenta del restaurante.
Con ambiente familiar
y multicultural.
Come to Pablos Restaurant and Club.
looks like they're bringing back Amr Syed for his final over because the Stars have built some form of momentum, getting some boundaries in the last over, and the partnership has gone to 30 runs and 39 or 29. So that run rate is above 100, which is where you don't want to be if you are Majid Rizvi. So they're trying to silence that by bringing out, so far, the best bowler that we've seen on behalf of the Knights this game. And if this over isn't fruitful for the Knights, then the Powerstars can capitalize on that. But Majid Rizvi is definitely looking for a wicket right now. And he thinks Amr Syed is the guy to get that for him.
Interesting move. The left-hander has now gone around the wickets. As I mentioned earlier, if a right-hander is bowling to a right-hander, it becomes easier to play down the ground or play on the onside. Well, the advantage is exactly the same for a left-hander who bowls around the wicket. And so I'm interested in knowing why he felt the need to make that change. The first ball goes for a single. This next ball is wide outside off stump. And
Wide ball.
you've now conceded 2 runs to start the 8th over. Whereas before he was being very economical and not giving up very much at all. Down the leg side, another wide. I really do believe he needs to go back over the wicket. I hate to keep drilling home that point, but it becomes much more difficult for a right-handed batsman to play a left-hander if he's bowling over the wicket, slanting the ball across from him. Now, a little bit of a delay now that the keeper has requested the helmet. I think he's going to be keeping up to the stumps to Amir Saeed. Maybe a little uncomfortable with how keeper himself is uncomfortable with how comfortable Ewart Nicholson is walking down the wicket. So he wants to negate that option. So he's decided to don the helmet and stand up to the stumps. Of course, you have to be a really good keeper to be able to do that. And that ball is a better delivery, maybe on an off-stump line, defended back down the wicket. Stroked into extra cover, no run, good throw, solid throw there by Majid Rizvi. So good couple of dot balls by Amir Syed to repair some of the damage done by the first couple balls of this over. Slower delivery, loops his one up in the air a little bit actually, and punch into the offside for a single by Ewart Nicholson. .45 for 2 the score after 7.4 overs. Oh, slapped away down the leg side. That's going to run away for at least 3 if they want it. And in fact, it stops right before the boundary, a couple of feet inside the boundary, and a good strong throw. Did they run 3 or did they stop at 2? I think they stopped at 2. So aggressive running could have gotten them an additional run there, but they chose not to. So only 2 runs conceded. So 1 ball remaining in the 8th. 47 for 2 is the score. Nicholson 19 from 22. Bardwaj 15 from 12. 92 runs remaining from 67 balls. Oh, that's good running. Just defended into the offside. They run through for a single. So at the end of 8, the score is 47 or 48 rather for 2. 48 for 2, and just as I requested, we'll be having a little bit of left-handed spin here, Roshni. Jermaine Levine from the southern end.
I know you have been waiting for this, so let's see how it goes. I think Majid has definitely noticed and brought in Jermaine, so we'll see how it goes, and if it goes as how you predicted.
Well, far be it from me to second guess a captain as experienced as Majid, and obviously he's able to read the game a lot better from what he's seeing out there in the middle. But just for me, as somebody who knows, at least has some idea of how to restrict a team from scoring, if the ball is leaving the batsman, it becomes a more difficult ball to score off of. And so you'd like to think that the easiest way to do that is to bring on the left-handed bowlers, particularly if you're of a side stacked with right-handed batsmen. And that seems to be the most straightforward way of doing that. Whoa! Thick outside edge for the attempted cut there. I was almost proven right from the very first ball.
Yes, absolutely.
Didn't quite care to that man as short third man, but a dot ball to start things off in Jermaine Levine's first over. Two straight dot balls to start.
Your 8 overs are very crucial. Bowl you, 4 Germany. Just bowl discipline bowling, let them try.
Jermaine, a very experienced campaigner. Again, he was, in past years, part of the West Indies U19 setup, and just all around, just a brilliant cricketer. This is driven in the air. Oh, a diving attempt by that fielder running around from cover. Almost got there, but in the end, that dive went in vain. Ball just eludes his outstretched arm, and it goes away for 4. That was a brilliant attempt by that fielder in the deep, Roshni.
I absolutely agree. We saw some great attempt there. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to have it, but that was a great attempt, and that's what we do need to see out there in the field. You know, that effort that's being put in, you can definitely see it with the Knight Riders.
On the ground, again, that same fielder in the deep is in play. This time he only has to retrieve it and return back into Jermaine Levine. So single to the total. 5 runs conceded from the over so far. 2 balls remaining. Jermaine bowling around the wicket between the umpire and the stumps. Slanting the ball in to the right-handers. He's now bowling to Nicholson. Flight to delivery.
Jermaine,
And
go,
they take
man.
a single. Do they look for 2? Yes, they come back looking for 2. I'll tell you what, that ball was no more than 20 yards away from the bat, and they still run through for 2. One wonders whether or not if Jermaine had gone for that ball himself, whether he would have gotten there in time to prevent that second run. But either way, 2 more runs to the total. 7 runs from the over so far with 1 ball to come. 55 for 2 the score. Defended into the offside, and so Jermaine Levine's first over goes for 8 runs. Overall score is 56 for 2 with a target of 139. The batting side, the Powerstars require another 83 runs from 66 balls.
For the Powerstars, we do see a partnership building between Rishi and Albert, so I think that's a great thing for the Powerstars. You know, that they finally have a partnership. Both players are now, you know, pretty much set and looking to just hit the shots whenever they can. They don't really need to do anything, I think, too fancy, but they do want to make sure right now the required run rate isn't too bad. They're just a little bit below it, but they want to make sure that they get those runs in every over so that that required run rate doesn't get away from them.
Again, my wishes have been granted, so we now have two left-handed spinners on. Nosh Kanjige from the north end. Very experienced cricketer. Again, played for several years as part of the United States of America setup. He's now bowling around the wicket. Goes to Nicholson. The first delivery is slapped to backward point, no run. Jaskaran Malhotra doing the cleanup work there. Nicholson now slaps this ball square. I think that ball went a lot squarer than he was aiming. He might have been aiming over mid-wicket, but a thick under edge gets the ball rolling down to square leg, and they take a single. Nicholson now 24 from 27 balls. Rishi Bardwaj is now on strike, and he has 21 from 17 balls. Defended into the offside, no run. Oh, quick piece of work there. Good throw back in. Very flat, right next to the stumps by Jaskaran Malhotra. Another dot ball. Go for a quick single. This is defended just in front of the keeper. No more than 10 yards or so away from the bat, but they're able to get away from that single. So, for that single. 81 runs needed. 62 balls in which to get them. You know, you get the sense that there's a little bit of pressure creeping into the Powerstars. Usually you would expect, hold that thought, inside edge onto the pads. You would expect for the gap between balls and runs to be closing, but it's staying consistently around that 20-22 mark, and the more that that gap remains, the more pressure builds, because, and again, defended right back to Nosh. That's the end of the over. 58 for 2. They still need another 81 from 60 balls. So the more you see the gap between balls remaining and runs required stay consistently in the 20-21 range, the more the pressure starts building. You wonder if that pressure is going to result in a couple of wickets, or are these two batters going to be able to keep their heads and hopefully accelerate towards victory?
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on these two batsmen and their mindset. It's obviously not a tough position to be at for the Powerstars. They've only lost 2 wickets. So if these two, with their partnership that's already building, I think they will definitely, be able to make sure that they get in those runs, score a boundary or 2 in every over, and I think they should be okay. As long as they don't let that gap, become too big. I think with these two batsmen, we can see, they're able to communicate with each other, kind of have that mindset where they're not getting too frustrated, when they have a dot ball being delivered.
On your screen right now, you're seeing a few pictures from the gala from Wednesday night, the opening night here. We're seeing a picture of all of the captains. All of the excitement, anticipation before. Now the picture that you're seeing now, opening ceremony, some fat 53-year-old guy high-fiving Prashant Mane. And another picture, a fantastic picture of all the umpires. Umpires have really worked very hard and are a very, very successful, competent group of umpires. Here we have, here's the commentary team. That's a good one. And look, this is really a celebratory atmosphere that we have here. This ball is struck very firmly down the ground for a single. Back to the live action. So more than anything else, as competitive as things are on the field, I think the atmosphere and the spirit in which these games are being played, particularly with regard to the other sort of activities that go on alongside the cricket make the Houston Premier League one of the most exciting events on the calendar year. And so, Rushni, for somebody who does not live here in Houston, but somebody who has come all the way here to enjoy our cricket, oh, this is a great shot. That goes for 6. Clean strike. Absolutely clean shot. And just another 6 at the same time flying over here. I may have to go retrieve that. But anyway, to the extent that you are not somebody who is always here in the Houston area, what are your thoughts coming down here to see the Houston Premier League and generally just cricket in the area? What are your thoughts?
So it is my first time, in the Houston Premier League. I have come to Houston a couple of times to witness some cricket. I've heard about the Houston Premier League in the past, and I think I've had such an amazing experience so far. I think, as we were going through all those pictures and the different events the HPL has, I think it's amazing to have, everyone kind of come. On the field, we know how competitive things get. But, off the field, it's great to see that spirit, that banter that goes on, even just, all that communication that goes on. And obviously, this whole draft system that's brought into the HPL is a whole different experience. I think you can see the advancements HPL brings into cricket. And we can witness right now, we have so much competition going on in all 3 of the fields. And such talented players that have came here from Houston, outside, and so many under 19 players. So I've been thrilled to be here, and I'm glad that the weather so far has been fantastic, and hopefully it continues throughout the tournament.
May it continue, yes.
Yes. But this HPL 2021 has absolutely been amazing to be a part of.
Fantastic. Well, we're more than happy to have you. And in the meantime, back to the action on the field. The last 3 runs have conceded 11. The last 3 balls rather have conceded 11 runs. Big 6 after the last, on the 3rd ball of the over. Then 4 runs through the backward point area, and now quick single taken. So with 1 ball remaining in the 11th over rather. And that ball is defended right back to Jermaine Levine, and that ends the over. 70 for 2. $70 for 2 the score. 69 runs needed from 54 balls. The batters are Rishi Bardwaj and Ewart Nicholson. Nicholson adding a few runs and taking a little bit of the pressure off of the batting side in that last over, with 12 big runs coming from that over. Bardwaj 23 from 22 and Ewart Nicholson 34 from 31. Jermaine Levine has limped off and is being replaced by one of the youngsters. We'll get that youngster's name here shortly. He is fielding at mid-wicket, which is a very high pressure position to put one of these youngsters in, but either way. First ball by Nush, his 2nd over is defended for no run. And this one is clipped around the corner. 1 run taken. Do they come back for a second? No. Long run by the keeper, and he's right there. Good throw next to the stumps. Jaskaran Malhotra is the one who covers the stumps. He, of course, is a keeper himself, has played as a wicketkeeper batsman for the United States of America, and knows what to do around the stumps, both behind and in front of the stumps. Single taken on that occasion, so the score goes to 71. 68 remaining are required from 52. Slap this ball down to deep mid-wicket. Another single to the total. Nicholson on strike now. Flats are pushed through Kenjige and defended back down the wicket for no run. Outside edge, quick, oh! Running in there was Jashkaran Malhotra, not able to pick up cleanly. A clean pickup and throw would have been interesting, but as it is, he fumbles it and they run through for a single. So 1 ball remaining in the 12th over. 7-3 for 2 the score. Good economical over so far by Kenjige. Only conceded 3 runs from it. And the last ball coming up. Struck in the air. A couple of bounces down to the fielder deep at long off. Throw comes right back in. And that's the end of the over. A single taken. And the score is now 74 for 2.
So Brian, based off these overs, who do you think can win this game?
Either team can win. Earlier I said that there was going to be about a 68% chance that the Powerstars were going to win. If you had to measure that win predictor at this point, I would think it's much closer to 50-50 than to 68-32. Because even with 1 or 2 overs where there have been a lot of runs scored, for example, the 11th over yielded 12 runs. But overall, the bowling in the last few overs has been very economical. The 8th over went for 7 runs. The 9th over went for 8 runs. The 10th over went for 2 runs. The 12th over went for 4 runs. That has the effect of sort of constricting the efforts of the Powerstars. And so now you're at the point where 65 runs are needed, and there's still a big gap between runs needed and balls remaining. So there's still 48 balls remaining from 65 balls. Sorry, 65 runs remaining from 48 balls. And by the way, look who is now bowling. Majid Rizvi, captain. Oh, a scoop shot missed, but it goes down the leg side for a wide. I mentioned earlier that Majid, in his younger days, was a genuine all-rounder. Bowled good, solid pace, and obviously he could always bat. Doesn't bowl as much these days, but interestingly, I asked him in the pre-match ceremony. Get back to that shortly. Ramp shot goes around the leg side that might run away for 4. Yes, it does. I asked him in the pre-match ceremony whether or not if he was ever going to bowl again, because I mentioned that he these days was more a batter than a bowler. And he actually said that he tries not to bowl, but if it comes down to it and the situation demands it or requires it from his perspective, that he'd give himself the ball. Clearly he's done that here. It feels like a bit of a roll of the dice, but it may be necessary simply because Jermaine Levine has walked off and we're not sure what his injury is. But he's looking to be the man with the golden arm at this point.
Correct, absolutely correct. And another thing, earlier on you said as long as the Power Stars maintain that 2021 run from balls difference, they have a chance of winning. Now that runs from balls difference, it was 97 to 71, like 41 and 61, right? Now you have something around like 13 ball runs to deliveries deficit. So 12 now. So the Power Stars keep, and I went for 4 right there, yeah. If the Power Stars keep getting boundaries, and yeah, they can have an economical over here and there, right? The low runs. But if they keep getting boundaries every once in a while, then I think they can close this game out.
I agree with you. You would think that if the Power Stars are going to win, clearly, it's not a matter of thinking. If that gap starts being closed, then you're putting yourself as a Power Stars closer to victory. As of right now, there are 54 runs required from 43 balls now. Full toss, slapped away down the leg side. Who's down there? That's Nashtosh Kinjige. Throw down from that deep backward square leg position is right to the stumps. A single conceded. So 1 ball remaining in the 13th over. Score is 86 for 2.
Johnny boy!
So only 53 remaining for victory. And again, that gap between runs required and balls faced has narrowed tremendously. That gap is now only 11. Ball is struck through extra cover. They'll get 1, and that's all they'll get. As the sweeper coming in on the offside is able to clean up, and they go for a single.
And there were no dot balls that entire order over, and Majid Rizvi gave a fairly expensive one with the wide as well. That's a really good over for the Power Stars, and that's something that in the previous overs it had taken like 2 or 3 overs to get 13 runs, but they got that in 1 run. They're easily lowering this deficit. And Majid Rizvi's bowling another one.
It's up,
and it goes for 6, and it goes onto the other field. Wow, right over us.
The ball sailed right over our heads here in the commentator's booth. So, yes, a very expensive over. Again, it felt like Majid Rizvi was rolling the dice, and I don't think he got the result that he was looking for. 18 runs from that over, if my math is correct, and the score is now 92 for 2. 93 rather for 2.
On that last shot, Brian, I didn't know whether to go for saving my head or the camera.
I think we should save the camera. But
You're trying to say there's no price on my head.
I don't know if you remember.
At least today you guys need me.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember an IPL game from maybe 3 or so years ago. Ball was smashed towards the dugout, and there's the analyst who's working on his $5,000 laptop. He ducked and went away completely to the side, left his laptop exposed, and that ball crashed into the center of the screen, absolutely destroyed that laptop. He took some stick for that.
And speaking of which, everyone at the field realizes, because we want to give you the best production quality and bring the best shots, we are literally sitting in the firing line. And yesterday, Hamad Azam hit 1 ball right into a production crew's tent, and he broke a hole through the championship trophy stand on which we have been displaying the trophy. So, yep, it's a tricky situation to be in, but we'll put our equipment and heads online to get you the best possible shots we can.
And the funny thing is, if he would have done that same shot a million times and never hit the trophy case, but the one time he does it, slams this hole right through the trophy case.
So Richard Bardwaj, 42 from 29, plenty of damage coming from that last over bowl by Captain Majid Rizvi. Ewart Nicholson is 37, I believe, from 26 balls. And so plenty of pressure taken off of the Powerstars here. Here's Kanjiga. This one is slapped well into the air, deep and long over, long on. 6 more runs, and this ball is going to roll away, much like you get the sense that this match is now rolling away from the Knight Riders. As these two batters who have both been there for a very long time are starting to express themselves with a little bit more freedom at this point.
I think most of us who are witness here at the ground are still trying to figure out what Knight Riders have shown up this year. They've shown some spark in bits and pieces, but a lot of it has not been consistent. And I think we'll come back to it after this ball. Knocked to long out for just an easy single. They'll come back for the second as fielder sweeper cover comes in to get the throw in. And I think, Brian, a lot of it has to do with the big overseas signings not clicking just yet. Jaskaran had a good innings last evening. He scored a 50 and won the Man of the Match award. But they need a lot more from him, Perkins, and Janissar.
We spoke about it several times. When the team is built the way that it is, it's not very unlike the West Indian team. That's my closest point of reference, where you have a lot of hitters at the back end of the lineup, and so you sort of, if you have a team that is constructed in that way, you need the guys up top to play their role, and their role is to take the game through, let's say, the first 8, 9, 10 overs. If you get through the first 8, 10 overs with a power play score of around 50 to 60, minimal number of wickets lost, then the guys, oh, this is a huge hit over mid-wicket, 6 more. You get the feeling this game is now slipping away. But if the innings is set up in such a way that your power players come in and are able to express themselves with freedom and without pressure, then the Knight Riders may be the most dangerous team in this entire tournament. But if the guys up top don't click, and then you're forcing the guys at the back end of the innings to change their game and be grafters and be people who are trying to, as Jawad said, bat through 20 overs. Whoever thought that you'd hear the Knight Riders talk about needing to bat through 20 overs? And so if you're putting them in that position, it's no surprise that the team itself has struggled. Oh, direct hit. What's the call? As the umpire says not out. That's a great throw coming from square of the wicket. It went through for 2 runs, and I know we've been speaking a lot without describing the action on the field, but there's a lot going on out in the middle. And another quick 2 taken, but 16 runs so far in this over. Score is now, by my count, 109 for 2, 110 for 2, rather.
Yeah, I think this game is as good as gone at this point. After those middle overs, the partnership was formed. I think the 2 batsmen on the Powerstars realized that now they had the liberty to start smashing these balls that they could have done so long ago. It's just that they need to develop a partnership and get that momentum. Now they know they have the advantage. The balls to runs deficit has been completely eliminated. They're going to start hitting these balls. They lose a wicket, it's okay, because they've only lost 2. At one point, it was 7-2, and we thought this would be a thriller. But this partnership has blossomed into something great for the Powerstars. And Edward Nicholson and Rishi Bhardwaj deserve a lot of credit for carrying the Powerstars to this game.
Right arm off spinner, favorite player, Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah, Rishi Bhardwaj, we just saw, brought up his 50 in the last over. And we've been talking a lot about the Knight Riders, but a new franchise this year, which is Powerstars, they've quietly notched up a victory yesterday, and they're well on their way for a second victory. And Rishi Bhardwaj, one of their overseas signings, he was one of the players who was the top performer in the minor league exhibition games. If I'm correct, he notched up the most runs across all 24 teams. And he's been a great signing for the Powerstars because he comes in at number 3, and the kind of innings he's played today, he's anchored this chase. And I think that's pretty much his role when you've got guys like Edward Nicholson and Niket and others to bat around him.
Well, we highlighted it a lot in the middle part of this match, or in the middle part of this innings, where there was that big gap between runs required and balls remaining. Well,
How many runs?
runs required.
How many runs?
29 runs remaining. 29 remaining. The current score 110 for 2. We had some guest commentary there.
We just spoke to a Night Riders player.
A color commentator thinks that they're 30 runs short in every game.
And that might be true because the captain, Majid Rizvi, said the exact same thing to us and during the post-game interview. He said, look, the outfield, look, here's the thing. He says the outfield was wet, right? That slows the ball down. If he knows this and he said it 2 days in a row, why do you choose to bat first? Bat second, take advantage of the dry outfield. But no, both times, first thing in the morning, we're going to bat first. I think it's time to change it. Mad's a cool guy, but personally, I feel like this was a weird decision. There's going to be some rain in the forecast tomorrow morning. If he bats, if he chooses to bat first again, I'm retiring.
I pay my homage to a career that lasted a day.
You know, more than anything else, as a cricketer, you want to be, and as a captain, you want to be comfortable, or you want to do what makes your team comfortable. By the way, Jaskaran Malhotra is now the bowler. The ball is pushed into the offside for a single, and that's all they'll get.
You notice when you're looking at the ball in this half of the innings, the ball never slows down. In fact, I feel like it gets faster once it reaches the outfield, or else they wouldn't be getting this many boundaries. Yeah, 28 from 34. I would say this game is as good as closed. The Night Riders do have one last chance to get the third or the fourth seed for the playoffs, but it is difficult. They have to win the next 2 games that they play, and then one of those games is against the Stallions, who have been the strongest team this tournament, and against the Gladiators as well. So 2 very strong teams remaining. And yeah, they have 2 strong teams to play, the Night Riders. And,
this might be 2 if they wanted. Good running, great running.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay, let's hear it.
Does Edward Nicholson get a 50
Ewart.
by the end of this game?
Ewart Nicholson.
Edward.
Ewart.
Oh my God. Ewart Nicholson. I've been reading Edward the entire game.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I met him at the photo shoot on Tuesday night. He's definitely a really cool guy. I got a picture with him. He's a nice guy. And he came from New York to play in this tournament. And based on this performance, he's done his job well. For sure. That's for sure.
My name is Ewart Nicholson. Right arm back, favorite player,
To answer your question, yes, this is going to be a 6. Oh, not quite. Good athletic fielding there by, as we call him, Janis Arkan. Nicholson, I think, has played a very temperamentally appropriate innings. He started slowly and circumspectly, and then became aggressive when the situation demanded it. Oh, looking for a big swipe here, completely misses. He was aiming to get to his 50 with a 6.
Yeah. I think he realized that he's going to get to a 50. I think now he's just going to opt to run it instead. But let me ask you another question, Brian.
Okay.
Do the Knights make the playoffs this year when their next 2 games are against the Stallions and the Gladiators?
That is a difficult question. Based on current form, you would think that it would be tricky. But based on potential, and their potential is just delicious. If you're looking at their lineup on a sheet of paper, you would have to think that eventually that lineup is going to come good. And so you would have to think that they will not continue to fail at the top of the order. They're just simply too talented a side to continue failing. And so my money, if I were to bet money on this, and I don't bet in any context, but I would have to think that they would eventually come good. And so I guess I hear myself talking into the answer of yes, I think they will make the playoffs because I don't think that they're going to continue losing the way that they are. Just that they're way too talented aside and way too varied aside in terms of their different attributes to not have the results on the field that they should be capable of having.
Look, the Powerstars have been one of the underwhelming teams this tournament, right? And if they're losing to the Powerstars, how can they compete against the Stallions, okay, and like the Gladiators? And look, if the Night Riders if they opt to bat first, right? If they play the Gladiators are an amazing team at chasing, especially with
That's 6. And there's your 50.
And there it is. Yep.
That is a huge hit. Gigantic 6. And 50 not out. 53, in fact, for Ewart Nicholson. Again, playing a very responsible innings. A few overs ago, his team looked like it was struggling a little bit, and they were being constricted out of the game with good quality bowling. But he has opened things up here in the last few overs, and that huge 6 over cow corner gets him to 50 and gets his team that much closer to victory.
Yeah, that was some fabulous batting from both Ewart Nicholson and Richie Bardwaj. A lot of discipline, a lot of power, and a lot of great strokes that we saw. Look, the game's not over yet. In an ideal world, Majid Rizvi comes on, bowls both of them out, bowls 2 maiden overs, and wins the game for the Night Riders. But that's going to be
This
another
is
boundary
a
right there.
lovely shot. This may be a better cricket shot than the one that went for 6 because he played it late. There's a sweeper out there on the offside, and he delayed the stroke just long enough to get that ball square. And so even though the fielder out there sweeping on the offside is pretty speedy, he was not able to get anywhere near it. So 4 more. 107-run partnership from 77 balls. If you're looking for the difference between the two teams in this game, at least, it is exactly that.
Yeah,
this ball now goes out into the outfield. That sweeper has a lot of work to do.